only thing left to do in this situation, the only thing that's left to be done about the Heroic and HUNDEN situation is actually give out the punishments. And this is where I'm so confused. HUNDEN should be gone forever. He cheated. He lied multiple times. He's thrown his team. He's thrown his teammates under his bus. He should be gone. And even if he's not officially banned forever, like, I don't understand how any team would even touch him. He's got to be so toxic. niko should probably get the next deepest punishment because he had the bigger knowledge. And I understand there's extenuating circumstances. Apparently, ESIG is way more lenient than I would have been on those. I guess, let's just say hypothetically, I haven't given this any super big thought. That's like a year gone. And then you look at the players like cadiaN, who I like and who I believe and I trust that he didn't know there was cheating, but there was no actual effort to bring that up the line and get this out in the open. And there's already precedents. Do you remember back?
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
These bombs go to the teammates.
I wanna see you rolling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parimatch, your esports teammate. Hey buddy, let me show you how to fix that. Bitskins.com. Buy and sell skins instantly. Deposit and withdraw funds instantly with crypto or directly to your Visa card. Bitskins.com, the best skin marketplace.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans across the globe, welcome to another edition of HLTV Confirmed. Got that one out quick, and I want everybody to know that we haven't done a course on producer communication with Lucas just yet. Once again, 30 seconds before we come to you live and direct around the globe, I hear, got an echo. Information I don't need, but information we all have right now. It's Wednesday, the 20th of October, 2021, episode 56, season 5, live and direct at, it's not even 8 o'clock on my clock right now, so let's say 7:59 p.m., a beautiful day here in Malta. I don't know how everybody at home experienced it, but I hope you made it through. Quick shout out to the sponsors of the show who support us week in, week out. Xtrfy, I don't spell them anymore. That's xtrfy.com. Check them out for all your peripheral needs. Parimatch, parimatch.com. Gamble responsibly. And Bitskins, bitskins.com. Buy and sell CSGO skins and items. Now, if one thing you've noticed there is all those websites have .com. There's nothing .gg. There's none of that, right? So it made the .com seem kind of silly, but if they were different, it would have made more sense. Anyway, if you want to listen to the podcast in audio-only options, head over to anchor.fm/HLTV. All your audio-only needs, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. And I always say many, many more. Well, maybe you want to know what the many, many more are. I think it's like Breaker. I'm having a look right now. Overcast. You have Breaker. All these ones you've never heard of. Pocket Cast. If you're using Radio Public out there to listen to your podcasts, let us know. You might be one of one listener. All right. I've said a lot. You need to know what's on tonight's show. Silly season starting early. The HUNDEN Chronicles continue. And, of course, the long-awaited return to CSGO Major. So this is going to be a good one. You may notice we have Jason Moses O'Toole here. I've put a collar on for you today, Jason. How do you feel?
It's denim. That's the only collar I would have accepted as well. Is this our annual denim jacket day?
No,
I think you're trying to bring it back.
I think what was it called? I think we made like Henry G Appreciation Day or something.
Henry G Appreciation Day. We all wore the denim jackets on the desk.
It was good fun. But yeah,
we did that 2 years running before it got shut down.
I think we did. Look, it was fun. We basically control our own segments. I have still got shorts on, as everyone can see my knee. No, it's not me holding a baby and its hairs coming through.
That's gotten you in trouble at some points.
It has. Once upon a time, everybody, an EPL season, I did Pants Off Friday. Any Australians listening, you'll be familiar with Pants Off Friday. It's something that Hamish and Andy would do. You guys all know Hamish and Andy out there.
Of
So I
course.
tried to bring it to the Counter-Strike world. Turns out they expected better of me. So that's what happens when you let me
I'm
host
not
the
gonna.
desk.
I'm not satisfied with this level of details. I want more.
I'll,
the-
I'll
the-
never I'll never forget how confused Chad was that somebody did not enjoy him being on an ESL broadcast in his boxers, and that's it.
The thing is, you couldn't even see, like, all you could see with my hairy legs. It's just, you see them every time you turn into this show. It's like I put them on the internet for people to see. I think they're pretty
Yeah.
nice legs.
That's true.
All right. Anyway, I got to introduce the regulars. Lucas, the ever lovely Lucas. Lucas, can you communicate something roughly 6 words for me right now?
I don't know what you want.
Pretty good. All right. Pretty good. The communication's getting better. Yeah, look, he's done well there. Striker, you've got a big grin on your face today, mate. You think this one's going to be a fun one?
I said this like a couple of minutes before we went live, just because of the conversation that was going on. I just know this was going to be a good one.
We don't want to continue that conversation just yet.
Probably not.
Maybe after. Maybe after we'll get that
what
one.
the one about bald people being? I mean,
That was good too.
in a
Jesus.
very
I think that was
very
before-
hard spot.
Yeah, that was before Chad joined the channel. He's not up to date on that conversation.
Okay, we're gonna do that one now.
No,
Don't have to. It's
Okay,
not my
all right.
show. I don't want to steer the ship. You know.
All right, that's fine. All right. So, Prof, there was a bit of a preamble before I joined. Was that the takeaway from the preamble? Like, I was sitting there idly by doing some statistics. I could see all of you having a good old chat.
that was one of them. I think that's the biggest point. Definitely, it's not hard for bald people in this society right now. That's the thing.
Okay. All right. It's good for bald people in society. Another thing now.
No, not good. Not good. Not.
Oh, it's not good.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's bad.
We're having
It's
a rough
bad.
time. Maybe not bad. Bad's maybe a bit strong, but there's some glaring negatives.
Look, I'm going in that direction, so I need to change the world to like love bald people more. So then, when I become bald, I'll have a good time. That's essentially what I want.
I think it's just perpetuated through our viewers because they're so young. Well, not all of our viewers, but a big part of the user base, right, are quite young, and they just have those luscious locks, right? They have that beautiful hair. They're not worried about it just yet. They can still eat as much food as they fucking want, and they don't put on any weight. But wait till they, get into their late 20s. Life changes a bit. You become that boomer in Counter-Strike that you never wanted to be. And that's how I feel in Faces. So shout out to everybody who has to be my teammate. I hope that I at least communicate well.
As somebody who just like entered late 20s, essentially, like everybody told me, when I was like 18, this same shit. Like when you get to your like close to your 30s, things are gonna start, man. Like you're gonna start putting on weight for no apparent reason. You're gonna start losing hair. You're gonna start graying and shit like that. And I was like, that's not gonna happen. And of course, it's happening, man.
Look. This is the one thing about humanity that where we kind of suck. Is we don't learn from the people who give us good advice. I didn't learn from my parents, but anyway, we've done this preamble for long enough. Lucas, can you roll the bumper and we'll get into the recent news, mate? All right, we are back in action here. And if you don't talk to your producer as politely as what I do, you're not going to expect a good show, guys. So you want to be nice, right? You don't want to be snappy. You just want clear lines. And what you do as well is you make it so it's part of the show. When you guys watch the broadcast at home and you see Stunner staring off into the distance, it's because someone's in his ear and he's got no fucking clue. Like he's being told something's coming next. So me, I just bring it out. I just say, yeah, let's go. Let's do this. So, I'm directing the shots right now. So Lucas is technical directing and I'm producing and semi-hosting here. So it's multi-roles in one. But it's kind of like the Zipex situation. He's done a lot of things. He was doing a lot of things. And we all thought he was out of Astralis, right, Prof? What the fuck's happened here?
Yeah, it's one of these Astralis turnarounds that everything was leading in one direction, and then 180, boom, and then we have Zipex re-signing for the team.
Zane left one direction, and
then I don't know. Then this guy becomes like the best pop star, and all of the like 40-year-old women love him, right? With whatever it's Harry Styles. I mean, this is essentially what happened. Like we had Bubsky in the team. Everything's like, oh, the Bubsky is gonna be staying. He is Zane, obviously. I don't know these guys. I can't do that. But essentially, he was in the team, and then as soon as he wasn't in the major team, we already started thinking, okay, it's probably leading towards some of these other players that were essentially one foot out of the door that they're going to be staying, and Xyp9x is the first one to kind of confirm that. We'll probably get another one at some point, maybe even before the major. Who knows?
Okay, well, I think the interesting thing here as well is obviously him re-signing and us all thinking he was on the way out. Like, I reference this all the time. I reference it again. They wanted to sell Xyp. They wanted to sell Xyp, Esatag, or Bubsky at one point when they had that massive roster, right? And they never did. But the fact that he's staying, how much do you think this is based off his land performances recently, Striker? Do you think this is because he's shown, he is worth his weight, and if they want to go with younger names instead of him, it might be safe to keep someone with that experience around? And he's not even that old, right? I think we all get confused because Xyp's been playing forever, but I think he's like 26, right? Like,
yeah, I think he's 26.
He's not aging out.
I mean, it still is surprising that he got a contract until 2025. Like, that's
5 years.
You get to that gets to a point where most players start to drop off. Like, will have already started to drop off essentially. Like, that's like the just above 30 years and stuff like that. That's generally when players start to drop off. So that part is surprising to me. I mean, the fact that he got re-signed was surprising to me in general, just because I talked to like 15 different people behind the scenes, and only one of them told me. I mean, basically 14 out of 15 told me, "Oh yeah, Xyp9x is just done. There's no way he's staying."
Yeah,
and one person told me, "Yeah, maybe that's not true." So that was the big turnaround for me. I never expected Xyp9x to be actually staying. I thought, okay, if almost everybody's telling me that there's no way that they're going to patch things up, that probably isn't. But I mean, from what I understand, there must have been some contractual differences why he wasn't going to stay. I don't think it had necessarily a lot to do with performance, just because, sure, like he had a drop off, but then again, like, this is kind of like an era where everybody has had their periods where things haven't been working out, and it's not like he's never been in a point where he just doesn't anymore have like what it takes to be on the top level, right?
This happened to him before. He's been on the chopping block before, and they said, "Look, if you don't pull up your socks, mate, you're on the way out." Now,
it's like 6 years ago now. Yeah,
yeah, but it's happened before, right? With the same core of the team, basically.
I don't know if that was the motivation. I would say no, just because of what I heard behind the scenes, which was something like that their relationship is just kind of damaged.
The org and not the players?
Well, between the org and Xyp9x specifically, but even multiple players, from what I understand, that was even kind of like a part of why that whole trio was kind of rumored to be potentially out, right? Just because there was some differences between the two sides. So that's why I thought there was not going to be a way, even if his performances are looking up. But I mean, somehow they patched things up, so that's where we are.
Yeah, go for it, Jason.
Well, I think, like, it doesn't surprise me to see him in the major lineup, like testing some of the new players and getting a little bit of a rotation going in, and testing Bubsky and Lucky is cool and all. But if that's not going in the direction you want, you're not feeling comfortable when the major comes around, you throw Xyp in there. I think re-signing is probably, if I had to guess, there's got to be an element where, I mean, it's no secret Xyp shopped himself and he put himself out there. I think he probably ran into an issue where, especially with, I imagine, how much that Astralis would ask for him, and then a salary that Xyp9x wanted on top of that. I imagine for most orgs at the moment, especially during a COVID climate, probably the worst time in the world to try and shop yourself out to multiple different organizations when everyone's budget is tightened due to the circumstances around the world. So I have to imagine on some level he might have been a little bit surprised that he wasn't able to find as much money in a contract that he wanted somewhere else, and especially not enough money to leave, the best lineup of all time, and then the most successful organization of all time. So I don't know. I think Astralis has handled this pretty well. I think for as much criticism as they got with the Bubsky signing way early on, and even a little bit with perhaps the S-Tag signing, of having Bubsky signed and on the bench and not playing, I think they've done some very cool things, ensuring that as an organization, their long-term health and their long-term opportunity for success in CS was prioritized. And even if it seemed like from the outside like they were being complete fucking dickheads and assholes, that's their right. They're running a business, and they're here to make sure that they have the right players moving forward. So I think Astralis has done a great job maintaining this roster throughout all this confusion. Personally, I think they've done excellent work.
Yeah, they've stayed very competitive. Well, they've been competitive to get back to this point anyway.
Just the fact that they've been able to be as competitive as they have been in different events, when you think there would have been a huge drop-off from Device's departure, from all these stand-ins, from different players rotating in and out. And I think the other side too, it does suck for Bubsky, because I imagine, if I had to guess what happened when they were selecting the major lineup, is like, you have to think Glaive and Dupree and everyone just like kind of came to and they were like, listen, I don't want to fucking op at this major. Like I'm not opping. Like sorry, like we need to have the opper in. It's just not happening. And I have to imagine more than any other selection out there, because you'd think with the amount of time that Bubzkji had been in the team as a sub, along with Lucky in the same situation, that Bubzkji would be much more acclimated to how the team operates and their strategies and in terms of his responses to different things inside the game. Unfortunately, they just wanted an opper. None of them wanted to take it up for the major.
Yeah, Prop, were you going to jump in with something off the back of that, or
yeah? I mean, I think a part of it people have to understand is that this is a business, and Bubzkji even coming in and then Lucky and just having 6 players. What Astralis essentially did was kind of have the players fight for the spots in the lineup, instead of it being the other way around, where Astralis is hunting down players to have a roster. I mean, it still was that, but in some way, you sign Glaive, you have Lucky, you have Bubzkji, and you have already this kind of core shaping up, and that is Astralis making it clear that they're not going to be super overspending for any of these contracts for the players that they already have. So they kind of turn the tables in to some degree, right? And then maybe Xyp9x did shop himself around, so he probably also worked on his value. But in the end, I think what Moses said, there's not a lot of teams that's going to provide like a massive salary and also be super competitive to the level that Astralis probably will, because you're going with something and the core of the team seems to be there, and config coming in, like what's going to be there. And that is that's surely going to be at like a top 10 team. And then
also,
just like instead of that, try going to a complexity, or try going to an OG or whatever, and you have no idea what's going to happen. Sure. You don't know how you're going to click with any of these, or phase or something. I don't know.
And also, they do the right thing too, ensuring that even if Xyp did decide to leave or found a better offer, like Bubzkji's been in the team since July of like last year, June-ish, July of last year.
July, I think.
Like you have someone who can step in. You're not looking for like a fucking panic stand-in, a month before the major. And I don't know if this came into play at all in these actual negotiations, but it also gives you a little bit of leverage to be able to be like, all right, Xyp, if you want to go around, like fine, like we have a player that we're comfortable, stepping in and replacing you, as irreplaceable as the guy is. Like they have a little bit of leverage to where they don't have to be held hostage by one of their own players. So I just think, from start to finish of this whole saga, as much as it hasn't always looked like it, I think Astralis did an excellent job as an organization.
I'm curious to kind of see how far this stuff goes, right? Because every week it's felt like, boys, that we've sat here and gone, what's Astralis' lineup going to look like? There's always some interesting bit of news. Yeah. And obviously to see out the year, the one that they have going in with the 4 players who have won a minimum of 3 majors, obviously take Magisk out of that. You've got them with 4, right? But with that core going back to like defend their title, they've won 3 majors in a row, right? Just so everybody's aware, they've won 3 majors in a row. And I know it's been a 2-year hiatus between majors, but going back in with the 4 players who have the most experience in a major setting in front of an audience. I know you're missing Device. I know that is like the biggest issue right there, is a star player, someone who's been the MVP of the majors twice, right, is missing. But this team, this is the one that I would have liked them to see them go back in with, right? Unfortunately, Device didn't hang around to see if they could do it again. But this, in the constellation where where Glaive sits out, Magisk in-game leads, right? I think Bubzkji makes sense in the makeup of the team. But in this one, not so much. That's why where this goes for me, and I know what you guys are talking about, right? But when we look at how, I think that he must have got a pretty good deal, right? Xyp's not going to get like a crazy good deal, because what you guys are talking about there is he could have gone somewhere else. Maybe he didn't see offers that were going to be
he does
what he wanted.
Fuck all in terms of branding himself as well. He doesn't do like any content or anything like that.
Well, we branded for him. We all call him the Clutch Minister. He could have a role.
That's all he's got.
Well, one day he might end up in Danish Parliament, and that'll be him like going toe to toe or some shit. But the thing with him is, it's like, I think this deal is better for Bubzkji, and it's better for Xyp in the long term. I think it's good for Astralis in the short term, right? Because Xyp's going to get to stay there on that contract. We always know that those contracts benefit the org more than they do the players, right? Look like the fnatic situation with Crimson, JW. They signed for 3 years, right? Did JW even get to the end of that 3-year contract? I don't think he did.
No.
So we know that these contracts, like if the org wants them gone, they can get them out of there, right? So I think Xyp's going to be really good for the handover. But I'm just curious, and I want to get a bit of a feeling here from the room. And we all talk to different people, we all hear different things. But for me, it makes more sense for Astralis in the future of the team if they're going to use Lucky, right? They're still going to keep Zip. They're bringing in Config, who's already an established star player, and they're going to keep Glaive, right? I feel like it'd be better for them to either keep Bubsky as that fifth man or go for somebody fresh. It's not that I think Megas is, going to age out anytime soon, but or dupree's obviously towards the end of his, not end of his career, but he's an older player, right? When I look at all those factors, I think for the future of Astralis, if you're keeping Zip and you're keeping Glaive, you might want someone new as well, right? What do you boys think? Do you think it's stick with the old, it could still work, or do you think future planning and future prepping, like what they've done throughout these 2 years, is the direction they'll keep going?
I think Magisk for me stays.
You reckon he stays?
Yeah. I think dupreeh and Config are the players that are gonna swap places essentially.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's been my theory the entire time. I think that makes the most sense in game, and also like what you were saying with dupreeh being the oldest of the bunch, essentially. I think he's the oldest actually.
Yeah,
I think he's 28 or something, right?
Something like that.
27 or 28.
20. Yeah, whatever. But I think he is the oldest of the 5 players at the
28.
moment. There we go. So like in terms of that, obviously you're not going to sign him until 2025 or something like that. Like even if Zipex got that deal, like that's still like 2 years, 2 years on top of that. So. I don't think that's going to happen. And in terms of in-game roles, that always made much more sense to have dupreeh switch out for Config and the other way around.
Yeah.
In terms of like new talent, of course, there's like a bunch of Danish players that could be in the conversation, but there's no way Astralis are getting anybody out of Heroic. Like the relationship between those two orgs is not in a place where they can do that. And then you have people like, let's say, Blame with Complexity, who could potentially be on a way out. Then maybe like a Valde, who doesn't really fit for a player like well, maybe for Magisk. I was gonna say not for dupreeh, but then you have Config for that, right? So maybe there's something you could do there potentially. But I just think like why switch when you have a solid player like Magisk to who's still gonna be in a very good shape for at least a few more years,
Sure. Jason, you got anything else on this?
I mean, I would obviously, I tend to agree and be in the mindset that it'd be dupreeh that swapped out, but I think also, who knows? I think there's some time for the org to figure that out, especially after the major. Coming out of COVID after the major. I think part of it is also dupreeh strikes me as someone who would be very well suited into going into esports or going into Astralis organization behind the scenes and being able to have success in kind of roles like that, like more on the business side, just more behind the scenes. So it seems like that would be something eventually in his career dupreeh is going to be interested in. I don't know if it's right now. I don't know when it'll be, but that is just the sense I get personally.
Okay. Boys, we have anything else on the Astralis stuff, or should we keep it moving?
Just one more thing to add on to the whole Bubsky thing. I realize a lot of people say that he's been fucked over and or whatever like that. And I guess you can make the argument that the organization. What? Sorry.
He hasn't been fucked over.
But that's what I'm getting to, right? Because like
the community sentiment.
What I'm saying is that exactly. What I'm saying is that as much as you could argue that Astralis maybe didn't do the best job of setting him to success because of the roles that they put him in and stuff like that. Of course, you can make that argument, but then again, like he hasn't done much to prove himself in terms of his form, in terms of how much the numbers that he's putting out there, and how he's fitting in the places that he's been trying to fit in, right? So, like, of course, there's an argument to be made that maybe they should have just gotten somebody else in the first place if they wanted to replace Zipex or somebody like that, because Bubsky just wasn't the type of a player who could fit into that role. But then again, like if they wanted Bubsky to prove himself in a certain role, and that was something that they told him, he hasn't really done that. I don't think anybody can make the argument that he's been doing great in any sort of capacity ever since he joined Astralis, essentially.
Well, I think it's key that we all make sure we keep this in mind as we move on to the next point, everybody. This would have been a better segue in a couple of times, but I want you all to remember this for when we get in a couple of topics time here. None of the bullshit that would have happened in the last year and a half would have happened if Mad Lions never replaced HUNDEN with a Cillian. That's all I want to say. Right? We wouldn't have had any of the bullshit. We would have been fine. Bubsky would probably still be with that Danish team. Roy would somehow still be the star and not in Copenhagen Flame. None of the bullshit of the HUNDEN Chronicles would have happened if they just
Where would HUNDEN have been?
As the in-game leader of that team.
Yeah.
Yeah, who like just broke out and just got signed to a big org from Tricked. So
yeah, he'd still be out there dropping like 6 kills a game.
Look, man, someone has
he
to
wouldn't
do
be
it.
in the coach slot, wouldn't use
I'm just saying,
couldn't abuse
no boost,
anything.
no nothing, no text
nothing like
messages.
All right. Let's move into
No
the next topic
Robert.
here, boys. We're going to talk about Liquid's coaching status going into the major. Now, Prof, was it you who kept mentioning that they were talking about? Yeah, I have so many thoughts.
I didn't keep mentioning. I mentioned once that Liquid said it twice. They said it twice. Yeah.
And they said, you go for it, take it.
They said something along the lines of that there are multiple, maybe not voices, but approaches to how to play the game that aren't really meshing, really syncing in Liquid right now. This was during Blast. And this is like back-to-back days, different people. I think it was Stewie and then Naf, or no, adreN was the second one. So that is very interesting to hear, because this lineup has been together now for
some time.
I don't know, like a year almost, right?
Since last year, right, Jason?
Moses should know better.
Yeah, since January is when Fallen came in.
Yeah, so Grim came in late last year, right? And then
Grim came in right before I joined as a coach, and I think I came in like August of last year. So I think he was July or early August or something. I don't remember the exact timeline, but yeah, Grim was like a week or two before me. And then Fallen was obviously January. Yeah, I mean that was something as well. We talked about when we kind of figured out that we were going to bring Fallen in was it was one of the conversations I'd had and said, like, look, Fallen coming in, like, it's going to be, obviously there's going to be some really cool things, but you know, they played a completely different style. Like the Brazilian style is very, like, vastly different. There's going to have to be some give and take. So there's going to be some areas just to prepare everyone where, you know, Liquid's going to have to come closer where Fallen's idea is, and Fallen's going to have to come closer to where Liquid's idea is. And I was actually kind of excited for that, because I thought that would be a very cool thing to witness and to have those discussions of where there's going to be a give and take, and there's going to be, like, you know, obviously people on different ends of the spectrum, and that middle ground could be like a very cool place if we can find a way to end there. And you know, obviously I didn't get to stick around for some of those conversations that might bring us to the mid ground. That would be really cool. But I think here's I think the biggest thing that Liquid has to contend without giving too much, you know, insider baseball away. They've got a lot of very smart and knowledgeable players. I think like Stewie, Elige, and Fallen, when you listen to those three guys specifically talk about the game, is really, really cool to, like, see how their mind works about the game and see how they view it. And then they have those three players obviously have a lot of success in the game, whether it's winning multiple majors, whether Stewie's won one in an Intel Grand Slam. Elige is considered the best player to ever come out of North America, and he's now won a Grand Slam as well. There's a lot of guys who have their kind of idea of how the game should be played. And I think when you get to a certain level of success and a certain level of experience and veterancy in the scene, it's sometimes hard to break yourself out of your view of how the game should be played. And I think I think that's probably the biggest struggle that they're dealing with right now, especially as they've kind of seesawed between in-game leaders. And then two, I think it's a huge reason why adreN is actually massively important, which is going to be a huge issue in my opinion for them for the major, and why adreN was probably, you know, obviously a better selection as a coach for that team than I was, is adreN being able to speak the Counter-Strike language to the detail that this team needs, is kind of someone who should be helping to guide what kind of style and steer what kind of philosophy that they're going to be playing with. And I think those are unique things that adreN can bring to that team, especially knowing the players so well inside and out as people and as personalities. So I think not having him there is actually a huge loss.
Yeah, I can see that. I think, like, I don't know. This is what I think. I think that Fallen is a better in-game leader than Stewie, right? And he's got the trophies to back that up. But I think the way that he was approaching the game, and that came in the demise of the Brazilian tier 1 scene as we knew it, was because the style of Counter-Strike they were trying to play was outdated. Like, it was this type of Counter-Strike that got them to where they needed to be, but then the game had evolved. So I think, like, in recent times, one thing that Fallen had to do, and I think this happens for a lot of the players who go all the way at the top and then they get dropped from a team or they have to step back or whatever, is they get to reflect on where the game is at the moment. Because one of the issues is when you're playing the game, you're focused on fixing your own way that you approach the game, the way that the team approaches the game, right? You're also trying to anti-strat, you're trying to focus on it. But there's so many other things that if you're blind to one of them and you don't keep evolving and you're not looking for ways to progress, then you can just get stale. And then like we know these things, right? Like we can see. We had Taco on the other day, boys, and we asked about like one of the things was to do with I think it was Phelps and Fur, and we're talking about and Taco was like, yeah, if we ask them to do something and it's not their playstyle, then they'll just go sit back in spawn. You know, the Fur example that we had was perfect, right?
Yeah.
Because legitimately, there was a map of Inferno I remember from years ago now, where Fur and Phelps must have been told to stop going aggressive and dying in banana. So the entire fucking map, they just sat in the B site. They took no banana control and got executed on and lost all those rounds anyway. So it's like, anyway, my point here
also,
is
can you think of? Oh, go on. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Like you don't want those two players to be holding the B side together anyway. It didn't make any.
I'm just trying to
sense.
I'm trying to think of two Brazilian players that would have been less communicative than Phelps and for working on a bomb site together. That would have been an absolute fucking disaster.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, you even heard the same thing from. Remember when coldzera left the Brazilian lineups, one of the things that he said in like the first interviews out of that, or excuse me, sorry, when Fallen left when he joined Team Liquid, one of the things coldzera said in one of his first few interviews is like, I think it's good to see Fallen getting away from the Brazilians and go joining another team. He's like, I think it'll be great if Fur does the same thing. Taco's doing the same thing, getting out, because they're going to be exposed to new ideas. And I think that was coldzera's maybe the first one to really catch on to how big of a problem it was of an MIBR and Brazilian team and roster that had just been stuck in the rut tactically, not willing to innovate on a team level, not willing to innovate and learn new things on an individual level. And you kind of see where that goes. I don't think Liquid is heading in that same direction, especially from what I saw when I was within the organization. I think, they're individually, their players work very hard, but there is a difficulty in kind of combining everyone's ideas of how they want to play the game and how they want to approach different scenarios. I think Fallen's even referenced it in interviews that I've done, like post-game interviews when I was back on the desk, where he says, he pointed out specifically in post-plant situations, I like to play post-plant retakes very, very slow. These guys sometimes like to very much like see an opportunity to make a play and try and capitalize on it very quickly in that moment. And those are the kind of things where I think they're struggling to kind of find a unified approach to things.
Sure.
There's a question in chat. People are asking, who is jokasteve?
He's the manager.
He's the man.
But Moses, can you give them like the insight into this guy? Because I know him from events as well.
Yeah.
Amazing guy. But you have a bit more knowledge. Just give him a bit of a feel for jokasteve.
I mean, Joke is great. Great guy. He's the, I guess you'd call him the GM. I think he's the manager of the team. Essentially, goes on all their trips, makes sure everything's set up, helps keep things organized in terms of obligations and sponsorships and timings of when they need to be everywhere. Most of the communication with TOs and everything. Old school Counter-Strike guy. Obviously, not like super close to the game to the level of being a coach, of stepping into that role. But I mean, he knows the players intimately. He knows them, personally. I think he's been with Liquid their entire existence in Counter-Strike as well.
Feels like at least 5 years.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the areas where I leaned on Joko a lot when I was there to kind of help understand the personalities and how different coaches have found effectiveness and success at dealing with specific players, of dealing with certain issues that would crop up here and there. So I mean, in that sense, he's got all that knowledge in the world. But again, just from my experience in the team, having that like X's and O's Counter-Strike coach, I feel like, especially like this team kind of needs that presence that's not as one of the 5 players.
Yeah. I mean, this was my also thinking when I saw this news. I think people don't understand how big of an issue for Liquid this is going to be for the major. Like, they already weren't one of the teams you would expect to go like top 4, but you still kind of expect Liquid to make playoffs at least, and I'm not sure if that's going to be realistic right now.
Ooh.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they get the leg up, right? They get to start as a legend status team, so they already have that going for them, right? So they
have EG, so that's one free spot that's not going to go to the playoffs.
Yeah. I think that there's a chance for them to do well, but when we get to our kind of predictions, I think it's going to be interesting how we frame the context here, because I think like, are Liquid at the top of anybody's list to win the major? No. But are Liquid a team who have an outsider's chance of winning the major if things go their way on the day? Yeah. And I think this factors back into what you boys are saying, right? I think it's important with what you're saying, Jason, about him being like a good attitude, right? Because one of the things when I watch Liquid that I hate, and I don't know if anybody else agrees here, is that their body language is the worst thing for me. Their body language tilts me. Like everybody at home, oh, Apex, this, that, and the other. Yeah, Apex is overreacting on drastic scales. These guys are looking like kids who just got told that they can't have the Dragon Ball Z toy at the fucking shops with their mum, even though they get something all the time, right? They get their fucking treat, but they still want more. That's what they look like to me when they're having a bad game, like spoiled little fucking brats. Honestly, that's what it looks like. And that for me is the most worrying sign. When Stewie's looking, side looking at someone in a leash, you can see doing an eye roll. That's when you know that shit, like, get me the fuck out of there. If my kids are ever like that, Jesus, I'll put them up for adoption. Like, fuck, it's really bad. And I'm only watching that from the webcam. I don't know. Does anybody else see what I can't ask Jason. He was there in the environment. I don't want to throw him under the bus here, but surely he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've got a chapter in the book. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, it's like I've never had kids, but it just like that for me is the biggest problem because I think it's a good team. Like I think Grim now has shown that he has, a decent level to be reached on LAN against good teams. He's had some good performances, right?
Yeah.
Obviously we know the potential of like Naf and Alige as a duo is fucking sick, right? I think that there's so many good parts to this team. It's just that their body language when things aren't going their way is a problem. Now, Strike, I want to throw you something. Get you to chip in with a couple words here. Yeah. But do you think that jokasteve could be a person to keep the vibe high, or do you think it's not going to matter who's on the mic behind them here? Because like that for me is the biggest problem with Liquid. Otherwise, they can be a really good team.
The thing is, like, I don't know Joka. Like, I've talked to him and like met him, I don't know, several times at events just because he's traveled with Liquid a lot, and I've talked to him like about getting players for interviews and stuff like that. The thing about Joka is like he strikes me as a guy who doesn't talk much. And he's not particularly, I don't know, but I might be wrong because like I said, that's why I set it up as the way I did. Sure. I just don't know,
he's
know him on a personal level. Okay,
he's like a really good glue guy and personality around the team.
Fair enough. Then my entire point is mute because it just doesn't make any sense.
Listen, I'll say this because I'm not going to go too deep into it. But what was I going to say? Shit. I had something. I consider myself to be a positive person. I consider myself to be Chad. You work me. Maybe if someone say like a really uplifting guy. Uplifting guy when shit's going south on broadcasts and stuff like that over the years. Yeah. It's hard. It kind of does. It feels like it does. Fuck all. That's what it felt like as a coach when I was trying to stay positive in tough situations and try and change that body language in the moment. It's not easy. And I think this is kind of why, like, I still have Liquid making the playoffs. I think they got to be like, if you're going to do like a dark horse ranking, Liquid's got to be top of like the dark horse teams to make like a deep run into the finals or something along those lines. It's incredible that with some of those issues, they've been able to be as good as they have been over the years. But for me, it always felt like when shit hits the fan, when the going gets tough, like you want to have a team that kind of like, the players like lift each other up. Sure. Like if someone is stressed out
from the movies,
he's gonna be lifted up by a teammate who's being positive or who's doing something good, or a teammate's gonna notice that he's fucking down in the dump and you'd look over and pick your boy up. This team, when they get frustrated and stressed out, feels like they kind of look inward. It feels like they just kind of they kind of like recede even further. And that was something that I battled with pretty much every single match day, and it's tough. And it feels like, especially with the adreN being out, to me, like things better go real right for Liquid. They're going to have to catch fire like a Cloud9 level momentum through the playoffs. Everything is going to have to be going well for them to be going into that next match feeling like they're the shit. So it's hard. I mean, you do have players that say things and try and pick it up, but it's not hard to say the positive and uplifting things. It's hard sometimes to respond to those things in a positive manner if you're the player losing your shit. And I think that's where they struggle.
Okay.
I was just gonna say that I watched the latest vlog that they had, which included the infamous Pro League 1v5 from Refresh, and that was an interesting experience, to be honest. That was pretty surprising. That I don't know how much of it of the actual reaction was included, but like most of it was basically just Paul and just kind of like brushing it off and just telling the other guys to fuck it, like let's throw it back and stuff like that.
What was it outside of Fallen talking? Was it silence?
Seemed like it to me. Yeah, everybody was like, "Oh fuck, man," and like everybody was. I mean, we saw it from the game how the fucking atmosphere in that team must have been like for the rest of the game, for the rest of that the overtime and stuff like that. That was pretty obvious that they were just fucking dead. But like I was surprised that Fallen actually just tried to brush things off. So I mean, I see a positive in that. But if you're saying that that's a problem on a consistent basis, then yeah, I can see why that would be hard to get over.
It's not an easy problem to get over, especially because it's one of those ones that's like you can't really quantify it in any way. Like you can't point at it and say like this much you lost like you lost these 3 rounds because someone was fucking tilted and not calming properly or not focused the way they should have been because they were tilted. You can't point to this problem and show evidence of it on a board or on a spreadsheet.
But you know people like when they get overwhelmed by emotions, especially negative ones, that they shut down, right? Like I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest with everybody. Now, I haven't had a lot with all of these players. It's not like I sit down with them and I've fucking spoken to them one-on-one for a lengthy period of time. We're not mates. Like there's nothing like that. Like I have only my interactions to base this off of, watching the games, the way that they approach the game. Like that's the level of research I have here, right? But if I look at this, Stewie's probably the one who out of all the people in the team would be the most outgoing. Right? At least from my experiences with him in social environments. Always happy, always smile on his face, happy with a bit of banter, always seems like a good kid, right? Unfortunately, he's also highly emotional the other way, right? You can see he's one of the players
how it goes.
Sorry?
It's usually how it goes. If you're extreme in the one way, you're also extreme in the other.
Well, I don't know, like, because people like Jax, for example, always quite happy. He's not the type of guy who I think ever lets that get over him. But Jax is
I'd say
28.
Internally it does.
Internally, probably, but internally is a different thing from the way it impacts the rest of your team. And like, I don't want to put all of this on Stewie, but if I go through all the personalities in the team here, and like, I'm not saying that he's at fault, but I'm saying he can be the solution. If Stewie is able to be the second guy, keeping everybody in a good mood for the team, like when Fallen's having to digest I would imagine the stuff that Stu would say. Like when Naf gets like a 6-3K, like I can imagine they have some little inside joke and Stu says a thing and Naf gets a smile on his face, or Elige pops off and he goes, I don't know, like I'm just making shit up. But like a team environment, like Stu, when things are going well, I reckon he would be the best proponent to keep that going. But when things aren't going well, like I think that he could be the one, and I don't know how you do it. I could never do it as a player. I was bad at this, but being able to set the mood in a better way. And I think Stewie's the one who I would look towards as being that positive influence if it can be. And I'm talking out of my ass a bit here. Like I said, I only have my brief interactions with these players, but for me, it would be Stu. I don't know. Jason, you don't have to go down this way. I'm not trying to set you up here to fucking divulge all the industry secrets.
I won't go deep, but yeah, I mean, Stu, he does that shit already quite a bit. I think there comes a difficulty to it. I think it's surprisingly exhausting being that guy as frequently as he's probably had to do it throughout his time in Liquid and throughout his career as well. I think always having to be that hype guy picking the team up. You need someone else. You need more than just one guy. And again, like I said, like it's easy to be the guy who says the things. It's hard to be the guy who has to lift himself up when that thing is said, right? And the hard part is if you're not getting, if you're, again, we can just keep this hypothetical. If you're Stewie and someone's tilting every single game and you're trying to pick them up every single game and you're not getting any kind of response back, there's only so long before you're just like, okay, I'm out. Like someone else can try, And I'm not saying that's happening, but I just know, Stewie's. That's been a conversation about one of the positives that Stewie brings to his teams since he was in Cloud9. And at some point in your career, you're gonna get fucking tired of doing that. At some point in your career, you're gonna be like, where's the guy to hype me up? Like who's the guy picking? Who's the guy doing this for me when I'm having a tough game? Yeah, so I think that's just one of the difficulties, and it's one of the reasons why, if we go back to the original subject matter, I think it's one of the reasons why having a coach like adreN, who is like, if you're not going to be able to get anything positive out of, a constantly encouraging and constant like hype man and constant, positive, coach behind you, then yeah, go the X's and O's route. And now they don't even have that for the major. So, yeah, it's a really tough shit situation to be in. Shit situation obviously caused by a very wonderful thing. Congratulations to adreN of the baby.
Yeah, that's right. He is having a kid. So a decent reason to skip the major, I suppose. All right, let's move forward. Silly season. Prof, here you go. Fnatic, go.
I guess this was the most unexpected move out of, I don't know, in the history of CS. Like literally when they first got the two British guys, we had smooya on the show, and you made that joke. It's like, haha, two Brits. Now they just kicked Jacquinho, smooya, you joined them. And essentially that is what happened. Like, that is literally what happened. It made sense. It's a pretty big upgrade looking how smooya performed over the last year almost. And now in Fnatic, the first couple of games that he played, he's doing well. So it just makes sense. I don't know if there's anything more to add there.
Not really. I think that it's now for the British viewers at home. They have a team to support. I know that we had Endpoint, but this one obviously is a little bit juicier. Just when you consider it is Mezzy, it is smooya, and Alex. Like, you think about them, probably best AWPer from the region, smooya. Biggest or revelation is Mezzy, and then in-game leader of Alex, who is French and British at the same time. So that's like exciting for the UK lads. And smooya is playing right now, and he's top frag, and he's smashing them. That's one thing that I think, because too many people, they talk about smooya and they think, oh, the guy's a he's an immature kid. Yeah, he plays good Counter-Strike, right? So like, if one thing matters, it's that he plays good CS. So like, and he has a fun relationship with smooya, right? Everyone saw the stuff on Reddit. I don't know if everyone called that the other day, where Simple's calling a strategy for smooya on the team, right? And smooya just types like rush ramp or some shit. I don't know if people called it. I thought it was quite cute, a bit funny. But yeah, that one there, smooya joins the roster. I think Fnatic are going to be looking pretty good. They've been playing in some qualifiers recently, so that's about that one. All right, does anyone have anything they want to say about, or do you want me to keep handballing this one?
Just big up for Fnatic for just fucking ignoring the toxic stuff and just like saying this is the guy who performs, this is a guy who works for it clearly, and this is a guy we would want on the team. So I'm glad that somebody just like looks past the other issues and gives him a shot, because I think he deserves it.
Nice. Okay. There's been some more changes. I'll throw you a fun one. I'll throw you a fun one here, Striker. You ready for this one? Another one that we're all excited about. Obviously, Complexity. You want to give everyone the update on what's happened with them in recent times?
I mean, Complexity just had poizon out. They had Alu stepping in, but I highly doubt that there's anything more to it other than just needing somebody for a qualifier and the major coming up and basically nobody else being available. So I wouldn't look too much into a potential Alu move to Complexity. I think if he fucking teared it up and they qualified and just like went from first place, whatever, and he just like destroyed everybody, maybe there was
no. Still then say no. Still then nope.
Fair enough. But I was just like, if he was just a mega god, maybe there was a chance. But
is that yeah?
What, sorry?
No, I just said damaged goods.
Damaged goods, yeah. I mean, that's exactly what I thought, yeah. But like, he's obviously didn't even play particularly well, and I mean, you wouldn't expect him to. Like, he literally just came into the team just for a 2-day stand-in thing, whatever. Nothing to really expect there. What's curious about how far Complexity are willing to take this, and like which offers are they even going to be able to take? Because at the moment, I guess you can look at a few names, but then again, like a lot of them are going to be at the major, and maybe there's going to be movements after that. But at the moment, it's going to be hard.
This team's dead.
Yeah,
this team's dead. This team is dead. The way it is right now, it will not look the same or anything similar next year. As soon as the trades are available, this team is dead. Right now, they're trading water. They have to pay people because they're in contracts. Otherwise, this team is dead. Now, that's unfortunate because Complexity did look good for a while there. The Juggernaut, it was starting to manifest.
Is poizon released or just banned? He's out of the contract, right?
He's gone.
I think he's gone.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I just want to mention that for some reason, people are constantly saying like, oh, poizon to G2, poizon to like, why? Like, why? Why? I don't understand. Like last year, I understand Complexity hasn't been in a great spot. And maybe it can work, but that's a massive gamble. Definitely a massive gamble. It's nothing that we should be like, it's not like smooya to Fnatic, obvious move. It can maybe work, but I'm not really sure. I'm not sure about it.
There's just more inconsistency adding to a G2 squad. Like you don't want that. Yeah. Like it's not going to help you in any way, I think.
I think poizon's peak is very high. His consistency is a problem. Right, and I think that's probably the same thing we say for a lot of players. But I don't think we should.
You could say that for the entire G2 team, man. Like add one more player to that list, and it's just like you're just adding more trouble to that.
I don't know if we want to spend too much time on Complexity. Jason, you got anything you want to add about him?
I mean, just there's I don't know. It's tough.
Hope.
No, I was going to say it's tough to kind of question some of these moves because I know like I came into Liquid and within like 5 months Twist was out. So sometimes when you get involved in it, there are things that the public just doesn't know that you feel like you need to take care of. But when I look at what Complexity's done like recently, I don't see the end game. I don't see like the path they're currently taking or where they're headed. Like I see no indication of what the next play is. And yeah, I think they've been treading water far too long, bringing in new players, bringing in stand-ins. I think this has just lasted way too long, and there's got to be some permanent decision made by somebody in private that we don't know about that is causing some of these decisions. And I'm with you, Chad, that this has got to be on some level just a dead team, or someone really critical to this team is gone.
It needs
yeah,
a revamp. It needs a makeover, right? When I say dead team, I don't mean
even if it wasn't dead, it scares me when you bring in a coach like Peacemaker with an in-game leader like BlameF, and then bring in coldzera as a star player. That was like the triangle for me that signified something weird was going on in complexity. If I was ever in charge of a team, I would be very hesitant to bring in a Brazilian coach, a Brazilian player, and then having like a Danish in-game leader. Like that seems like a recipe for disaster, especially when that Brazilian star player is, formerly a 2-time major winner and 2-time #1 player of the world, who we know who has had issues clashing with other players on teams. I think that triangle right there was a recipe for disaster, and that's why I feel like there already had to have been something decided that we don't know about. Because I don't think you make that move if those players are if those two players are planned to be there long term.
Yeah.
Especially, by the way, I don't know if you guys watched the blast, and I guess I'll just say it because it was on public blast broadcast. BlameF gave one of like the weirdest interviews I've heard in terms of like his opinion on bringing like coldzera and Peacemaker, and disagreeing with some of the things that they wanted to do, like not fully like it felt very odd. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it was very uncomfortable to listen to it, because I was like, you've brought in a coach and now you're bringing in a star player that your in-game leader obviously feels very uncomfortable with, like the initial conversations and thoughts they've had about the game of Counter-Strike. This is fucked. And I think that's just the situation it's in.
I mean, it's funny because BlameF is apparently one of the people who like had a big hand in bringing in Peacemaker, because obviously he's had experience with him before, right? So that's just an interesting.
He was also saying that they don't really have aggressive players, which is like, why bring in coldzera again? Then why do you do this? Now they removed an opper. Like, this is the only role that you really had covered, even though poizon hasn't been doing amazing. At least he fits into something. He gives you like something to work around, and you don't have anyone else to pick up. Like, Alu isn't a real solution. I don't think they actually thought Alu was.
He's not a solution for anything.
It's not a trial. It's not like they got smooya to play with them. So like, oh, maybe we can test him out. Maybe he's not toxic. Maybe we can do something about it. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, pick up another Bulgarian opera rather than that. Like, pick up hard from fucking
in.
Fiend or something.
Give someone a chance.
Like, this is, for me, just seems completely random.
I really like poizon personally. I think
he's
poizon's
just too
great.
inconsistent, Jason. He's too inconsistent.
I would wonder if that's a product of. I mean, the team's been inconsistent. They haven't had like an actual set roster for longer than like 4 or 5 months. Like, and he is still a young player too. I don't know what he's like as a person. I've never spoken to him. I've never really talked with anyone who's really. I probably should inquire at some point. I don't know what her personality is. If he's like, hardworking, if he's lazy, if he's kind of like one of those players who really looks into how he wants to play the game, or if he just goes by feel. I don't know anything about that to have that level of confidence. But from what I see as a player, when he's on, he does great things. If you can raise, obviously, like the C game and raise the inconsistency factor, which may be fixed by a more solid team around him, or a more consistent team around him, then maybe we get the good poizon more often than not, and then all of a sudden he's a very viable option. So I think he's someone where if there's a team out there that needs an op, I certainly think that there should be a conversation with him if you're looking to pick up an opper after the major.
I'm just saying, not G2. Like, G2 is a team that wants to be #1 in the world, and this is kind of a risk. If you're talking about like a mouse sports team or any international squad, to be honest, around the like top 10 to 30 in the world, I say the conversation can be had, definitely.
You think if G2's goal is to be #1 team in the world,
they should buy Zywu?
Well, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. Like, I mean, this is all presupposing that there's going to be a G2 roster change, right? poizon coming in, which I kind of on some level hate these conversations. But do you think the G2 roster they have right now is capable of becoming #1 in the world?
No.
Do you think poizon is an upgrade in the opping position for G2?
I mean, but in general, sure.
Yeah,
well,
it's like G2.
It's not enough though. I don't think it's enough, and especially if he's like he has been inconsistent. And I don't even know if the style is that suited for G2, who want to make this like double star rifle thing work. Where I think someone like Brokey would be a better suit for them. I don't know if they can get him, but I think they need to look for some of these players and not cadiaN. Definitely not cadiaN. Everyone's that's talking about cadiaN. Definitely not cadiaN. I have to talk about the cadiaN interview. If you saw it on the CERT, it was like 2 weeks ago. I just want to comment on this because I feel it's kind of ridiculous. He kind of makes this point that, oh, no one wants to take me in CS, so maybe if no one wants to take me, I'll go to Valorant. And people are like, oh no, why doesn't no one want it? It's like, has a massive buyout because he re-signed not that long before he got benched. Had so many like motivation issues over his career, whole career. Even he admitted it in that interview as well. And also his form was awful at the end of G2, like very bad. Like Amanek practically is doing the same thing and being like super versatile and doing like Mac 10 rushing and doing all of this. So it's like, why would anyone want you? Like, it's not CS's fault that cadiaN isn't in a team. It's just like you did this to yourself, essentially. And G2 helped with re-signing a player that they essentially benched quite quickly after that.
Yeah, I mean, the question always becomes, as a player with cadiaN's history and legend behind him, how much of a pay cut is he willing to take to drop down to a tier 2 team? Or even if a tier 1 team was like, yeah, we'll give it a shot, but it's going to be a lower salary. That would be the question. And yeah, that's probably got to be a tough realization. I mean, some of the NA players have gone through it as well, although they probably haven't gotten offers because the entire scene disappeared overnight versus a thriving European scene. But I know Nitro was really frustrated with the quality.
North American propaganda. Yeah. Here we go.
I know it's the same situation for Nitro when he was off Liquid. He was kind of shocked that he didn't have a whole host of teams in North America coming to him and being like, oh, all your experience, in-game leader, opping, you've done everything, you've been playing CS and NA forever. Like, that's a very valuable player to some of the tier 2 NA squads that are trying to get better. And I think
that is the biggest crime, by the way, of the last 2 years. I think that nobody's signed Nitro.
Come on,
like literally, you have
everybody.
It's embarrassing.
Like, you had fucking Envy, just trying whatever they were trying at the time, and like you had all of these NA organizations. Flashpoint was like a big thing at the time still, and we're just like getting started and stuff like that. You have all these organizations still trying to make rosters work, and you don't give a guy like Nitro a chance when you just like, that's like the most obvious addition you can make to almost any team.
Even if it's just for one event, even if it's like a 3-month contract.
Exactly, like that was such a big crime. I was so pissed about that.
Look, I'm more than happy to say that somebody not picking Nitro up and Nitro not playing Counter-Strike anymore sucks, because he was a very good player, and the way that he was used as utility in Liquid and when the team was at the top of the pops was fucking fantastic. But can we not forget the context here, that the bloke was having a kid. He is a family man. He's from the middle of your country somewhere. Tends to be family people out there, right?
Louisiana.
And he got the opportunity to stay at home and mainly compete in North America and not have to fly over to Europe all the fucking time. Let's not forget. Let's not forget that context, because I know North Americans don't like traveling all the time.
This came in the middle of the pandemic. Like, there was not even a lands coming at the time yet, or just like European stuff.
Yeah, but that's my point.
Let me ask the question though: how is going to Valorant and getting to sit at home and play in mostly online events and then playing in one big event during that time any different from what Extrasalt has done or Triumph has done or any of the other tier 2? It's not like these motherfuckers are jet setting around the world, all the different countries.
Yeah, but they're probably not getting paid $30,000 a month, which is probably the
but you're obviously never going to get that. But I mean, look, maybe that's part of it. Maybe you didn't get an offer.
He's probably getting that 100 Thieves.
This is old history, so it's not even really going into. But yeah, maybe a lot of it does come down to just, maybe teams are just like, yeah, he's going to want too much money, no point in offering it. And maybe it's a similar case with cadiaN as well.
They should have tried. I don't like that they didn't try. I don't know if they would have succeeded.
But yeah.
But Jason, I want to give you a fun one right now.
Oh, good.
0-0 Nation. Lucas and Henny, who unfortunately Henny made the worst roster move maybe of all time.
I thought KRB was going to hold on to that title for so much longer than he did. Thank God for Henny. Bless his heart and soul. That's an insane decision to have departed the way he did. I'm sorry, I didn't even let you finish your question.
No, but we're going in that direction. They have replaced Henny and Lucas. So they've replaced 2 with 1 because they're obviously running the 6-man roster. They've replaced him with Fur. Where do you land on seeing Fur reinvent himself in this roster, Jason? Do you think this might be a success, or do you think this is just going to be more misery?
I think it's going to be more misery.
More misery.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see a lot of upside for this team, to be quite honest with you. I haven't seen. I mean, I feel like we've barely seen them play throughout all this with just like a lack of presence, and then not even having an org for a while, not playing in too many events. So, yeah, I don't know where the positives are for this org. Even if you were going to point towards Fur as someone who's going to come in and do a really good job, you just nailed it right there. He's got to completely reinvent his game, and is he going to be able to do that? I have no idea. Up in the air, toss up. I've never been super high on KNG. I think he's got a lot of talent. I'm not a huge fan of his game. Not a huge fan of him as like a leadership presence on this team as well. So I guess you kind of put it on VSM, but yeah, I think without Henny and Lucas, like, despite all the insanity that comes along, I feel like with every team those two have been on, you can't deny that Henny, when he's playing well, is an incredibly impactful player, and I think they're going to miss that on the squad, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's all fucked again, boys. Do we want to stick on this? Or want to keep moving?
I mean, one thing that
we're going to talk about sorry.
One thing that will help with a little bit is just like the original problem that this roster had is basically they had 3 oppers, right? They had VSM, they had Henny, and they had KNG at the same time, So this is something
that players.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is something that at least might make the team work a little bit better than before, just because of people having to step back into roles that they perhaps weren't particularly comfortable with and stuff. So like that's at least one positive that I see in the change.
Fair enough. Prof. FPX.
My favorite team, obviously.
Peca, he's gone.
Peca's gone.
Devilwalk.
Devilwalk is gone.
Now, what does this tell you?
Well, it tells me that the results have been shit. Not really shit overall. I think for the last year, 6 months have been pretty good.
Yeah.
And then just everything went shit for the CSGO team, and also the Valorant team also shit the bed. So because Peca is doing both. He's the manager of both the Valorant and CS team.
Angel's in the Valorant team, by the way, everybody.
Yeah, and those guys were kind of really good from what I followed, and they also shit the bed, didn't make like the big event. These guys didn't make the big event, but they also didn't make the last 2 big events for Zone and Pro League. So they're just like tumbling down the rankings. Had some even issues in like these tier 3 tournaments, tier 2 tournaments. So you have to make a change. I think you have to make a change. And when you look at the players are kind of okay overall. Some of them are inconsistent. Maybe like Farlig, you'd expect maybe more from him. We expected more from him when we saw him back on the Copenhagen Flames and stuff like that. We thought it would be better. So I see it. It makes sense to me. I understand why you would do this. I think it's
more of a traditional way of doing things, though, right?
Yeah, it's more like traditional sports, right?
Yeah.
So it's, but I don't know who they get. Like if they could get anyone, or
to coach, there'd be a couple of coach options for sure.
Imagine
right?
Zeus joining this. That would be fucking crazy. That would be crazy, actually.
Is Yanko still on the market for a coaching job? Seems also like a pretty decent fit.
That's spicy.
I don't think he's that interested. I don't know. Like after his last two rides of the rodeo, I feel like he's not that interested.
I think I spoke about this before. That's the problem with what Jason and Yanko did. They both went to 2 massively high profile teams.
Yeah,
if it was me, I'd make sure I went to like a middle of the pack, or no. People have asked me. The legitimate answer I give is I'd go back home and I'd build a team domestically. So then that way, no one's expecting anything, and if anything good happens, it's great.
I call shenanigans on that. What are you going to do? Pick up plumbing as a part-time job to subsidize?
What do you mean? I talk to Gomez every now and again. I know what they're paying down under. It's all right. I can live off of it. I'll be all right. I'll last for a couple of years.
Okay,
but. There's money down there now. I didn't know.
He's going to be streaming. Okay. He's going to be a full-time streamer and then coach as a hobby until it picks off.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the football teams got involved. So, there's a little bit of money at the moment. Right. I don't know how long it will last. You saw like a
Australian football or?
Yeah. Aussie rules football. Anyway, where were we? We were talking about.
Did we finish all of the teams that we had?
No, we haven't done the most important. And this is where I need life advice. The extra salt is new news. That's not on our list. The next.
Oh, you went EXTREMUM. Okay.
I did update it.
You did?
Oh, EXTREMUM. Yeah.
EXTREMUM, guys. This one here, I need some life advice from all of you or any of you. I don't care. Now, last time rounds when this all happened, I thought that it'd be a bad move for the boys to go back home. I thought it'd be a bad move because if you went back home, well, there's not going to be a whole lot you can do esports wise. Now, looking at what Renegades are able to do, it feels like there's a lot more opportunities than I remember. So, do we think now? Don't worry about Jacob and don't worry about Bentet, right? We're just going to worry about Liaz, Grat. Well, Az is going to stay in Europe anyway, I'm pretty sure. So it's really just Liaz and Grat. Like, should they stay in Europe or should they go back home and try and find teams and build something with the Renegades players or with the Order players? What do you guys think? Because those two lads, they're still youngish, right? I don't think they want to keep living in Europe where they don't feel at home. I don't know. What's the vibe?
I think opportunities are also going to be going to come far and few between. This the other way around, right? Few and far between.
Yeah.
So
it's all right. We got the picture.
Yeah. I just realized whatever. So I think that's going to be the biggest problem with them in terms of if they even want to stay in Europe. Like, I don't see a lot of teams picking them up at the moment. Like, there's so much fucking talent in Europe, and there's going to be, like, I'm sure there's going to be certain opportunities because of the, like, after the major, and there's going to be post-major shuffles and whatever. But like, if you look at Liaz and Grad, they're not some hot commodities that everybody is gonna fight over. So I think that's going to be the biggest problem for them. So at this point, it's probably best for them to just go back to Australia, even join like a secondary team, even if there's no spot on Renegades, who probably think they have it pretty good at this point with this lineup. Like, I don't see a reason for them to change in any way. At least not in their eyes. So why not just change like a second team and try to overtake the Renegades,
Sure.
and try to bring them up back to the top in Australia and get all the international opportunities. So I think that's the plan for them.
I mean, could be a spot on Order for like Gratisfaction and Liaz. I feel like that's the only other salary team that exists right now that is relevant, well, at least.
I think if their goal is to play professional Counter-Strike or I guess semi-professional Counter-Strike, you got to either go back to the States where there's plenty of space for CS players, or you go back to Australia where you're a little bit more intimate in terms of the scene much better, the team's much better. I think your experience is going to go a longer way getting back on one of those squads. But yeah, I think it'd be very tough to do in Europe. And I think they're going to be in the same boat where they would have to kind of drop down to that tier 2, tier 3 level and build back into a top team. Except they don't necessarily have like the legend or the pedigree or the weight of their name behind them to help them get on one of those teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough one. All right. Extra salt. The other bit of news here is Floppy might be heading back with the boys. So that'll be curious. It's good to potentially have Floppy coming back. You could tell he never really liked Valorant. He was just doing it for the money. He'll probably never say that, but just the sentiment from the individual, that's what I got. So yeah, we'll see if Floppy ends up back. Hopefully he can find himself, making some frags, because Floppy was one who we thought could have been a bit of a revelation.
Really important that Floppy does well for the North American scene. Like, one of the most detrimental things to the scene, after everything that's happened, is if you don't have those players making the step up to professional level at some point, if you don't have that like revolving door of a player escalating to that position. So I think there's, for guys like Floppy, guys like Grim, I guess we'd put Junior in that category as well. We're seeing potential, but like, these guys have to start making it in the top tier teams as well.
Sure.
Oh, and by the way, you gotta, if you're a player in North America like Floppy, hope that's not a long deal, because if you're looking at the landscape, you got to imagine EG is knocking on the door of a roster change pretty soon as well. So I hope he's not signing any 3-year deals with Extra Salt.
Oh, all right. Well, Floppy, if you're listening, Jason's warned you.
Might be too late. It might be dry.
Oh, I don't know. We don't know. We don't know about this. It's esports. Things change all the time. Unless you're doing business with Tommy.
Isn't this? Isn't the report that they're just like in talks, not that anything has been signed? I don't know.
They're flirting about it. They're playing footsies right now.
Yeah, but definitely EG Fang, EG Floppy. These are options. But also, if Fang goes to EG, maybe that's why Extra Salt need Floppy. But Extra Salt need, I think, a roster change potentially. Just based on these last results where they lost everything that they could lose, the major spot, IM November, a Pro League, everything. So not amazing for a team that should have been like the best team that is actually playing in North America.
Russia's still out there in the world, right? Out there in the wild. He hasn't made his decision on.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you said Russia. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's still a place, Jason.
Yeah, it's a pretty big country.
Yeah, there's a lot of Counter-Strike. Okay, Rush. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
well,
Rush.
He's
Oh, boy.
he's been, I've seen like on the Valorant Reddit that I frequent from time to time.
I think he's trialing for a team over there or something.
I think it's
isn't he?
TSM or something. I don't know. I'm probably wrong here, but I've seen the
I mean,
screenshots.
But that like Rush to EG rumor was flowing around a couple of months ago. So I believe that there could still be something to it, but I guess timing is important, and the major slot is super important because EG magically somehow managed to fluke their way into the top 16.
Well, they didn't fluke. The system's currently broken, Prof. We're working on healing the system as we move forward with Counter-Strike.
Yeah,
Huh?
good luck.
It's going to be healed. But
I told you I'm a positive person.
There's some good points. There are some good, like there's like Junior on a good North American team, right? Instead of one that's speaking Portuguese, for example, right? Like
I mean, Cirque, you can't expect Cirque to be on EG after. Why are we going this far? But you can't expect them to be on EG after after this event, because it just like he has been pretty awful.
He's been rough.
We're gonna talk about EG later. Let's move on.
Let's move into
Probably
the
won't,
HUNDEN
but...
Chronicles. Well, we might,
fuck.
Prof. We can. We can. The HUNDEN Chronicles. Now
we can't avoid it.
We can't. We have to talk about it. But there's a bit of lethargy, right, about it. I don't know about you guys.
Do you want me to just summarize everything? And then when I summarize this,
please don't tell me everything means like everything.
Not from the beginning.
No. I mean, I'll summarize everything, but summarize it. It'll be fairly short. It's gonna be like 1 minute.
Really quick. While you're doing this, I'm gonna mute my microphone. I'm going to listen to your summary, but I need to go to the men's room, to the bathroom.
Don't mute your mic. Take us with you. We can.
Get the whole experience.
Go.
Yes, join me down the stairs.
I don't know if we're actually going to get urination on, but here we go. Prof, give it to us.
I actually did this on one LAN. It was very fun. Oh, 1 minute. Here we go.
60 seconds with Prof.
HUNDEN joins Heroic. 3 weeks after he joins, he abuses a bug, coaching bug, against Astralis. So that happens. Then 2 hours after the match, the players find out that this happened because niko tells them, because niko is niko. So he tells them, and they're like, oh, is this real? And he's like, oh, yeah, he actually did it. They're like, okay, we won't tell this to anyone else, but don't do it ever again. Okay, don't do it again. And they're like, and HUNDEN's like, they didn't say what HUNDEN said. No one mentioned what HUNDEN said, but we are expecting.
They said they expected him to not.
They expected him to not do anything anymore. What happens? Of course, they don't say anything to anyone. TeSeS magically helps him do some weird boost, very very weird boost on Xbox, on like Catwalk, on Dust 2, which is. Why would you do that? And also, I'll go into the details. It's kind of weird how you activate the bug, because I feel like that would be also very specific how that would happen. But okay, let's put that aside. That happens 5 days after the Astralis case. And fast forward, we don't know actually the details when they found out that he used the bug. But somewhere like 5 months later, they find out he used the bug and got banned for the Astralis case and the Spirit case. The Spirit case coming after they told them to never use the bug again. What happens then? They put him in an analyst role. And after 5 months, they reinstate him, put up a billboard, which is saying HUNDEN is back, welcoming their amazing coach, who they told not to cheat after they caught him cheating. So he cheated again. And they're like, no problem with this. They bring him back. But when they lose their kind of belief in the coach is after he like shares some document with Astralis. And then they're, oh fuck, we can't have this. You're fucking kicked out of the team. What do you think about this summary? Like this is just facts according to what people have said.
I want Striker to give me a nod here, Striker. Of those events that Prof's just highlighted, how do you feel about that? Do you think he's covered all the bases there?
I mean, this is covering it based on the video or on the latest thing that we heard from the players. So yeah, sure.
So this is using the video, which was their story, heroic story that they released, with all the other information that we have received over the last year. at this point, right?
Yep.
So we're getting their side of the, well, we're getting bits and bobs of their side of the events, and we've had bits and bobs of everybody else's side of the events here. And we even have more news, like apparently HUNDEN with TV2 even made comment about their video. Now, I want to make things clear, as I do every time we talk about this. HUNDEN is a cheater and a liar. One way or another, he lied, right? And he also cheated to his own. He said he's cheated, right? So we know that he's a cheater and a liar. Trusting somebody like HUNDEN, nobody should do that anymore, at least in the realms of Counter-Strike and, you know, to do with morale. Well, look, I don't want to go too harsh on people, right? I did get a tweet just before we started talking about this from an individual called Jonteen Hu. 19 minutes ago, he said, "SPUNJ, go watch Heroic's video before, in capitals, making conclusions. Look how it affects them. Terrible from the likes of you pros." Now, I don't know what this is about because I haven't spoken about it since that video has come out. So I'm not sure what Jonty is referring to, but Jonty, shout out to you, you miserable cunt. That can only come from a place of accusing me of doing something which I haven't done yet. But maybe I will do it.
I think they're referring to, like, just in general the pitchforks on HUNDEN, on like Heroic.
Wasn't it TeSeS that came out and said that, like, it's actually been like super difficult with all like the hatred going around and everything like that, which I can understand. But I mean, that's just par for the course when you were embroiled in a cheating scandal. Like, I don't know what else. I don't know. Sorry, bro. It's going to be a tough time for a little bit. Time to buckle up.
Yeah, your coach cheated in matches. Like, even if you weren't aware, you were still like, you're painted with the brush, right? Like,
this one's weird. I mean, first of all, we can start with HUNDEN because I think you're right, Chad. He lied and he cheated. And even if the players did know, even if the players knew 100% of the way, even if he informed them ahead of time, and then he came out and told all of us that, he's ruined himself because he's already lied every step of the way. So we can no longer trust anything he says. So even if the players did know and he's got all the evidence in the world, your trust is gone. Like I don't really know what to say about HUNDEN because I just want him to go away. I want him out of the scene. I want to stop seeing headlines about him.
Astralis soon.
I want to delete him from the entirety of Counter-Strike. Everything he has done has been selfish damage control, throwing former players under the bus, going to TV2 instead of going through ESIC, not commuting with ESIC, not communicating with the organization that we've all kind of, you know, agreed for better or worse is going to be our first official organized stab at, you know, preventing things like this down the road. Yeah, fuck this guy. Get him out. I don't care about anything he's done in the back. Like, just get him out. He's done. As for the players, you know, I fully believe that there's that they at least at the time it was occurring didn't know, because I think it's different if you're a fan knowing that he cheated. When you put yourself in the place of those players, you already have the knowledge that he's cheating, but you never assume one of your teammates is actively cheating or trying to violate anything when you're in a live match, when you're preparing for a match. I don't know. I think pretty much everyone involved in this story, the players, HUNDEN, obviously, Heroic management, I think they all fucked up massively in some different regard. If you're the Heroic players and you find out after the match, you know, that your coach cheated, like, you have to say something. Yeah. Now, there is a caveat to this, obviously, is at the time that this happened, and remember, even throughout all this, it's a bug. Like, that's what the language we're using about this is a bug. If you're calling something a bug, it doesn't necessarily always mean you cheated. So I remember at the start of all this drama when this came out, I had no idea how this thing worked. I didn't know you could voluntarily do it. I didn't know anything about it. And if you're a player who might not also know those details about how that bug happens, you might legitimately just have no fucking clue what's happening.
Here's a rebuttal to that, just quickly, while you're on the subject. The thing is, like, I would be on your side 100%. The problem is with Heroic's language and the way that they said they had this massive serious talk right after the first match where they said this, like, you should never cheat and stuff like that. They clearly knew, like, they, from that language saying that's right after the first match when they found out or when Tico told them, like, from that language, it's pretty clear that they knew this was serious.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. And I mean, that's fine. I do think with the fact that the players even knew after the fact, I do think there should be bigger punishment around the Heroic players. I don't think it shouldn't be anything terrible. It shouldn't be anything like, shouldn't be career ending, but they should have some repercussions. And I think the only reason they're What's
I'm
that?
sorry. Speaking about Heroic, there's literally news 1 minute ago. Welcome to
Oh.
the Heroic family, Xizt. Xizt will join us as an analyst and step in as a coach
Ooh.
for the major. We're excited to have a true CS legend on board. We're certain he will help us elevate our team to new heights in 2021.
Wow.
Imagine walking into
Breaking
that shit
news.
show.
No,
Imagine being like, this is the dumpster fire I want to get involved in.
Well,
Perfect.
that's the thing now. Like this is the thing, because what we're talking about here, and just to be fair as well, obviously we all know cheating is bad, or at least we should. But Striker, just with what Jason was saying, like the severity of like what HUNDEN could see, like do we that level of conversation, or them knowing that they could go back and look on the demo and stuff, they probably didn't know that at the time, right?
I don't think. I mean, I don't know.
If they knew it was in the demo, HUNDEN wouldn't do it another time. I'm pretty sure.
Very true.
I'm
Probably.
pretty sure he wouldn't do it another time. But like,
You get my
just
point, though, right?
just to interject here, my issue is if they caught him cheating, told him not to cheat, and then found out he did it again 5 days after the first time they caught him.
Gone.
How do you keep him on? That
Too valuable
for
of a
me-
resource, right? He must offer good analysis, right? You're right. He's already.
But I
turned to a
mean,
problem
we
at that
know
point.
he's a valuable resource. Like we know that. We all knew that before he even became a coach, that he'd be pretty good in that. So
I don't even think it's that. I wouldn't even say it's a valuable resource thing. I think it would probably be something dictated by management.
What to keep him?
Could be.
But you think could be like, but it would be breach of contract. Like surely in the contracts, like
I think if you're management of Heroic, and where exactly was this in their rise? Are they having good results at this point? I don't know the exact timeline.
They were
of
just
everything.
just about like new team essentially at the time. Yeah.
they won Cologne, and the next day HUNDEN was banned.
Yeah.
Your management and you're thinking at the time like, okay, we're getting some good results, and then he's going to get banned, and then you're like, okay, well, he's helping with the investigation, he's paying his penance, he's helping reveal all this stuff, he's giving all these details. We're going to move him to I'm not saying these are good. This is a good course of action, by the way. This is, I think, one of probably the biggest fuck up. But yeah, going to go back down to analyst, and we're going to come back to coach, and everything's going to blow over, and he'll have paid his time, he paid his sentence, and blah 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 blah, and obviously it just gets much worse from there. But I would assume that it's management's kind of decision to move him to analyst and get him out of the limelight and bring him back. And also you have to remember too, this is different times. There's a lot of contractual obligations going on. If you're a player right now, you don't necessarily know the legality. And again, that's a bit of a cop out for those players. But there's got to be some weird scenarios with your contract, what you're allowed to say, what you feel like you can say. You're accusing someone and potentially ruining someone's career in public. Then all of a sudden, what if you're wrong? Does he have a case to be able to sue you back? I think we're at the point of esports where those are all considerations that get taken into factor.
I think most coaches were just like relieved by their teams that got caught cheating. If it was serious to some degree, they're just out. So I don't think there was any pressure to keep him.
But it
because
could be different in that
was
org,
to
though,
just-
right?
Yeah, what?
I know what the precedent was, but it could be different in that org. But like, I think there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of factors like here that play into this. But everybody, as Jason said earlier, they all made bad choices. Like as soon as the Heroic players found out this was a thing, they should have raised the flag. If contractually they weren't able to for whatever reason, I'm sure there's channels they could have gone through, right? Like, but that
I'm sure they raised an issue internally with the org.
Sure. And they're meant to be the adults in the room. I've referenced this before. Yep. Like, this is the thing I didn't like what I heard about the org. Did that guy get fired or not? Right? What happened with the apparently they got moved?
Apparently so. Like the guy who apparently put together all these NDAs and that Eric Askerd, I think his name.
Yeah.
According to Dust2DK, they checked with Heroic and Heroic told them that he's gone.
Okay, so officially from the Dust2DK source, it's all over Red Rover.
Apparently so.
But was he the individual who was the one coming up with the NDAs?
Yeah. That's what I just said.
Well, that's really good that he's gone, right? Because we don't want people like that involved. That's a fucking snake to be involved. That, like I said, he's meant to be one of the adults in the room who is meant to be driving them in the right direction, not the wrong direction, not to the should we cover this up direction. That's the wrong direction, right? Regardless of fucking business. If you want to do business like a dodgy cunt, which a lot of people do business like dodgy cunts, like that's just kind of the way the world works.
You have to think this is also a result of that investigation as well, just because there was actually a reference to him specifically and to actually, maybe I'm mixing up two different reports. It might not have been the ESIG report, but something that Richard Lewis put out on the Cerdo, I think, which was because he got hold of some of the evidence that he believed that HUNDEN put forward for ESIG to consider it for this case. And
He
one of those
laughed at
things, yeah, I mean, sure, that was also one of those things. But this is from like 2 days ago. This is very, very recent, actually. And that included something about a conversation where I really don't want to fucking paraphrase this too much just because it's pretty sensitive. But basically the premise was that like it was clear from a conversation with this person that that he was willing to cover it up. Basically, that was like one of the things that came out of the conversation.
Take
like
the
if there
bullet.
was a chance to cover it up, he would have. That was basically like the assumption there. So that's something that that I just remember reading in something like 2 days ago.
Just quickly here with Prof, what you're talking about, I don't mind talking about this shit in front of everybody right now. That's fine. If cadiaN wants to come on, bring him in. Of course, bring him in. Bring him in if he wants to come in here. Lucas, you're in charge of that. If cadiaN wants to come on, for sure.
I have a lot of this is kind of a weird subject for me because I actually have a lot of sympathy. I have a weird sympathy for the players while also thinking that they should be punished and should be and should be a bit more responsible. But I've been in a similar situation when I played 1.6 professionally. Towards the end of my time, it was the end of my time on a team. And I mean, this is like way back when. This is like back in like 2004, 5. But I did play in a match where I had a teammate cheating, like actually wall hacking, just like kind of announce it in one of like the last rounds. It was you. I don't think you would know him. Batman was his alias. He's like a old school. He wasn't very good, which is probably why he chose to be the cheater. But we were like playing a pretty close game on Nuke, and then all of a sudden you heard him saying like, you know, one of the last 3 rounds, like, hey, we're gonna hit the upper bomb site, flash it on. He's like, someone's in heaven, someone's on top of HUD, someone's in this corner.
Wonderful.
All right, go, and then flash it off. And that's dirty. And I left the team the next day, but I didn't like bring it up or report it to any, like, we didn't really have these agencies back then.
It didn't exist,
but
though.
like there is like a very weird sympathy that I have for players of like not knowing entirely what to do, like you know, not knowing who to necessarily go to within the team, or in this case management, not necessarily like, or maybe they do go to management's like, we're going to hold on to him, we think he's doing a great job and this is just a hiccup. And then you're like, well what the fuck am I supposed to do now? Like this is the guy signing the contracts and paying the bills. So it's, you know, I think it's an awkward place to put the players in, which also circles back to the idea of fuck HUNDEN in every way possible. Yeah. Fuck this guy and get him out. I don't like. I don't. I mean, this has been too many news cycles are wasting on this rat.
No, we're not wasting them though, Jason. We're not wait till we haven't even gotten to the fun part yet. This is the bit I wanted to see, because Prof is our resident medical expert on the show. If we ever have a medical question, we always go to Prof. So, Prof, do you think that HUNDEN is some kind of puppet master able to pull the strings and manipulate individuals? Do you think that he has that power?
This is like the Niko reference.
I wonder where that is. That phrasing from your own head, Chad? Because I literally heard somebody else say ask a very similar question very recently.
Oh, really?
Yes, I can't say that.
Oh no, mate. The only news that I legitimately look at is occasionally a headline, and then sometimes
it wasn't public. It was something that was said in conversation with me privately, but it was literally the same exact wording.
Oh,
but like, do you think does HUNDEN seem to you like some evil mastermind? Is basically what the wording there was. But yeah, it's a similar question.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious here. Anyway, we can reroute this conversation. We're joined live and direct by cadiaN. This has never happened before. Actually, no, it has happened before.
I'll just ask Lucas to send him the link because for the video feed.
Okay.
And then we can when he pops
have him
up
visualized.
And then we'll be able to talk. I thought you were gonna ask me as a medical expert, maybe a chemical expert. Were fake tears used in the filming of the video?
No.
But no. I don't know. Like, Niko is a special kid, definitely. So I feel like a lot definitely could be going on there.
Okay.
But I don't know. Past that, I have no idea.
All right. Well, Casper, are you with us? Oh, he's not with us yet.
He
Okay.
is.
He's
Not
in.
yet.
I'm here. Hey.
Oh, there he is. Hi.
There he
Okay.
is.
I'm just trying to figure out this cam thing because I can see you guys in this link.
Okay.
I'll just try
Could
to
you
figure it.
connect your camera thing? I don't know.
Technical stuff. Lucas, do you want us to keep this going while you work this out? Would that be easier? All right, Lucas will try.
Let's give it 5 minutes. Let's give Lucas 5.
All right. Well, because Casper's going to have to worry about clicking around. We'll wait until he's completely set up before we start sending questions his direction. Now, I understand what you're saying, Jason, about there's been too many news cycles about this. And I think that's what I was saying at the start of this, where there's a bit of lethargy. Like for me, for example, when I saw the new news come out, I was like, can't we just be fucking done with this? Like, I understand why Heroic wanted to come out and say something, because they've just been sitting there the entire time being accused of stuff. But this is one of the situations where maybe saying
getting it all out. Sunlight is the best disinfectant.
I don't know. A lot of people, right, when they didn't say anything, were like, why aren't they commenting? Why aren't they saying anything? And like players, I'm seeing, like, if my coach did it, I would say, like, it's a nuanced situation, right? Like to come out and just say that you would immediately know how to react if you were in their shoes, right? And I thought
that was such a dick move from the players as well who tweeted that at him.
Yeah,
that was poor form in my mind.
It bothered me a little bit. That bothered, because the thing is, if it was me, right, if I was ever accused of a crime and the police came and they were going to take me, right, I'm not going to be publicly fucking saying stuff. I'm going to be dealing with the police, right, and getting through the nonsense, right?
Yeah.
In this situation, when there was so much expectation on them to come out and say things, I'm thinking, like, are we in the... Yeah, Prof?
To be honest, like there are also things that they couldn't say, which is one thing that they couldn't say is that we know now, is that they couldn't say that they didn't know.
That's
because
true.
They knew. So that's also a part of it, right?
Yeah.
They could say that they didn't know inside the game, but that's kind of complicated. Here we go. We have Casper joining.
Is he all good, Lucas? All right, so we just got to get him unmuted, and then he's all good. It looks like is he at home?
Yeah,
Are you at home?
No, this is the office.
That's an office.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a very nice room that you have your PC set up in. Well, Casper, thank you for joining us. Obviously, this is a sensitive topic, and we're only in the recent news still, so this is going to be a long, fun show. But thank you for joining us. Now, because you've chosen to join us, do you want to kind of set the discourse here? Because there's been a fallout since you guys released that video, right? May as well give you the floor here, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I can try and do my best. Yeah, obviously a super difficult situation, and it's something we've worked with for a long, long time, because this goes, as you guys talked about, all the way back to when the bug was used basically on the first day, and that's like 31st of May 2020. So it's 1.5 years now. So it's really been a long time with this, and obviously everything changed dramatically when HUNDEN got the ban, and definitely been tough for all of us, especially when HUNDEN started to go rampage or against his own words. And that's not to play like some kind of pity card or anything. And I know that some, especially Twitch chat, likes to use that for the tears that was in the video and so on. But obviously, like you said, chat, it's a very sensitive topic. I guess let's start out with the majority. What everyone is talking about right now is that me and stavn was in the wrong for not reporting it. And yeah, looking back at it, 100%, it should have been done. I think that the best way I can try and explain it is that first and foremost, we lost the game, and there was no information given throughout HUNDEN's communication that indicated him cheating. So first and foremost, we had a hard time believing, did this guy actually cheat? Because if he cheated, why would he not use it or say, hey guys, I'm in this bug, 3 guys sneaking up banana or stuff like this? At no point did he use any direct information to give that to us. And in order for this cheat to be successful, you need to interact with the players and be like, guys, 2 guys banana. Do you know what I mean? Like the kind of information he would be like, I could, for example, say, I'm searching info middle. We're playing Inferno, guys, so I'm short with AWP. I'll say, I'm searching info middle, and he would be like, yeah, that's very good idea. and then he can see 3 guys banana. So he obviously knows that if I search for this information, I'll be able to recall that information to my teammates. Or he could, for example, say, when they're down a guy, they like to go B. Well, okay, this motherfucker knows because he's in a position, but how would I understand that this is not from preparation or just seeing everyone's POV? So we had a hard time at first understanding that this guy had cheated. Does that make it less right that we didn't report it? Probably not. But when I saw the video for the first time when it was posted by Michał, he posted all these videos of the coach box perspective. I was like, damn, this is what he was looking at, huh? That's the first time I realized the kind of information he had, because I didn't even know his exact position or anything. So yes, me and stavn should have reported it, but I think that first and foremost, since we lost the game, we didn't understand the severity of it and how. I mean, it's a serious breach of integrity, and I think we kind of just didn't understand fully the grasp of it at that time. So I think that's maybe the first thing. And I mean, one thing is that we should have reported it to someone, and now looking back at it and talking about it, we have also, at this time I didn't know much about ESIC, if anything at all, to be honest. And I don't know about you guys if you knew anything about ESIC 1.5 years ago, because I didn't. So we can't go to ESIC and we can't go to Valve, right? Because they don't respond to anyone or anything. So I'm not making this as an excuse, but I think if there was an obvious way of where to go with this, maybe it would have also been easier to do so.
Okay. I think there's from this, one of the things that I think is curious is about the keeping of HUNDEN, right? After now I imagine Jason was just flirting with the idea there before that maybe it was something contractual, so there's maybe certain things that you're unable to talk about with that. But with the idea of keeping HUNDEN, was that also because, well, at that time you had seen the ramifications of what the coaches were able to look at. So what was the thought process with keeping him? Obviously, well, no, not obviously anything.
I think that some players were against keeping him. Primarily, this was at the time who was really against it. I mean, I don't think anyone. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say you don't have to name names.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But you could also,
if you want.
No, you're right. Moses, you're right. I mean, two players was against it quite a bit, and we were in doubt of what to do. And then obviously management, like you talked about, Jason, obviously had their influence as well. And if I can just quickly talk about the management side, I think it's important as well also to grasp the fact that this organization was not built for such a scandal. I mean, it wasn't even built for having a top 5 Counter-Strike team, or top 10 for that matter. I mean, this was literally an organization of 5 players, a coach, a team manager, and a CEO. We're 7 people. And you look at other organizations, they have someone handling all the media, they have someone handling all the sponsorship, they have someone making the content, they have plenty of people. And what I'm trying to achieve with saying this is that they were not. We could have been better guided in some scenarios. We could have also ourselves acted better in some scenarios. But yeah, why did we keep him? I said 2 players were at least quite against it, but we also talked about it a lot. And I think that first and foremost, we won Cologne the day before this got announced. And this was the biggest trophy by far for anyone in the team. I mean, it doesn't even get close. Like these DreamHack Opens and other tournaments, I mean, you can't compare it. Even though it was online, I mean, it had been online for a year or so. No, maybe not a year, 5 months or something. But everyone knew that we're not going back to LAN soon, and ESL Cologne would be the biggest tournament of the year. So I think that this win was just, we were so europhobic. Is that the English word as well?
Which?
Euphoric.
Euphoric.
Yeah. We were so euphoric on this that I think we were blinded a lot by that. Also, because we didn't know about it, I think a part of me, and again, this is probably also wrong, but I mean, the guy has used the cheat for less than 1 game in total, and maybe 24 rounds or something. But obviously, that's 24 rounds too much. But I think maybe if he had done it for many games, I would have thought that he was like really a serial cheater, and he would. I mean, yeah, I don't know. We definitely acted wrong there. We should have ended the relationship not just at that time, but also when we figured out after the Astralis game. So I can admit that was wrong by us. But that still doesn't mean that we knew about his cheating. And I can guarantee everyone watching here that we did not. And for us, that's probably been the most difficult thing, right? Because as you all have addressed here, nobody has acted perfect in this. But some have acted way more wrong than others.
So here's a question, right?
Okay, go.
There was a lot of talk about the first game and how you found out, and niko being the one to tell you, but there wasn't a lot of information on what the second game and how that, like when you actually even learned about that happening. So can you talk about that? When was the first time that you knew that this was a repeat offense?
That was when the coach bug was announced, when he got banned.
Actually, the day after the
Yes.
Cologne win, then.
Yes. So it
Okay.
came as a big surprise that he had used it in another game.
That's a roller coaster.
He didn't
Jesus.
even know what game or how many he had used it in until it was announced himself.
Okay. I'm sure that's same with a couple of coaches.
Yeah.
Well, it caught Starix off guard, for example, right? Like he was out there tweeting about it, and then like it rocked up a couple of days later. Someone's like, "Well, you were doing this, mate." So, okay.
I'm actually curious. I'm curious about the boosting thing. So, of course, long time ago, not you, but from what I remember about how the coach bug even gets activated, it's like you have to be first on, like the only person on the server, and type in like CT coach, T coach, or however you enter coach mode, depending on the config. And if you want to be boosted, so you essentially like have to have a guy come in, crouch,
wasn't that
you
not
boost
essential?
Up, but TeSeS confirmed that he did boost up.
Yeah, but HUNDEN didn't know that he could trigger it without the boost. I'm pretty sure that was
that was said, but it doesn't really matter because like we know that the boost happened.
I feel like that that whole interaction is like weirdly specific. Like what feels weird that you don't think about it like why the fuck am I boosting someone on the middle of catwalk for no reason? Like there's nothing to boost there for. Right? So I don't know if you have an idea for like why that wouldn't be an alarm to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give the answer to the best of my ability, but again, I think at the end of the day, only 2 people 100% know what happened in this, and that's obviously TeSeS and HUNDEN, because they were the only 2 on the server. But let me first give some background on Rene, because he is a very structured guy. So he likes to go to the gym at the exact same time. He likes to play the exact same amount of deathmatch on the same server. He likes to eat this and this. He's a very systematic and structured guy. He's a guy who's worked really hard to, obviously, like everyone else, to be at where he is today, but he is very disciplined. And he's one of the few people that I've played with in Counter-Strike who I know if I tell him to do something, like watch a demo for the next day or find a new pistol round, play extra deathmatch, whatever it might be, I know that he will get shit done and I don't need to check up on him. He is not a guy who wants to take the easy path or jump over where it's easy to do so. So he's to me, a very trustworthy guy and a trustworthy person, and not someone I would ever believe to be involved in cheating. And I'm not only saying this because he's a teammate, but obviously that's probably going to be most of why people think I'm saying it. But so what happened, from what I've heard, is that, and like Moses also said, I could hear it in your reaction, Jason, that I mean, it's not uncommon to run around in pre-game and jump at people's head and mess around and drop guns, and you do stupid shit. And this is 20 minutes before the game is live, and they're the first 2 on the server, and no one else is present at TeamSpeak because people are eating or peeing or what do I know? I mean, you don't have to be ready in the server 20 minutes before and sitting there and waiting. So what happens is
Also,
that go
yeah.
ahead.
No, you go on. Finish your story.
Yeah, so what happens is they run around, they mess around. I guess HUNDEN asks him to stand here. They've done it in other places as well, and he joins coach. TeSeS goes out to get his rituals, like he's explained to Essek, and I don't know if he explains it in detail in the video, but he goes out to pee, get his coffee. At this time, he was smoking as well to get a cigarette, and he comes back to play the game. And what's also important is, yes, you can blame me and stavn for not bringing up after the Astralis game to the right institutions or the right people, but also we should just have had a team talk about this, and we didn't. So at this point, TeSeS don't know that HUNDEN has ever used a coach bug. So I think that's a quite important part in why he should not be suspicious. Because obviously, if this guy has cheated 5 days before and he's like, "Yo, let me stand on your head," or I don't know what the communication was like. Obviously, alarm bells has to ring. But when you don't know this, how would you expect your coach to cheat? Someone who's played the game professionally for 12 plus years, why would he all of a sudden use a cheat?
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that's the key, because if he knew that he cheated, he'd be reacting exactly the way Twitch chat is reacting right now, which is like, what the fuck? How did you not know? But you'd go into that server like thinking, this is my teammate, this is my coach who's been with me, who's been watching these demo. These are my boys, been playing games with it for months. You're not going to, like, when someone says boost me, it's not like this motherfucker might be cheating. He might be trying to get boosted into a spot.
Another question though, and this is more like a general thing, because most of us found out about the coach bug when shit started, like with Lord's tweet, I think Lord, yeah, and then there was like, oh, what the fuck is this? And then everything started kind of unraveling pretty quickly. But apparently, like, obviously some people knew about it before. Like, was this something that people knew about, that existed, that happened or something? Because I know a lot of people knew about it because it happened from 2017, but like, the people in your team know that this exists?
Yes and no. I mean, I came from at least playing in the US with Rogue, where I had never heard about this bug or seen it, and I've never experienced it, or I didn't know anyone ever who knew how to trigger it. But apparently this was way more common for a lot of other people. So HUNDEN and Boro, for example, they knew from back in Tricked that I mean, they didn't know that it had been used, but they knew that this bug existed. And I guess you could see that on Regin as well, that it was used a lot of times. And I guess that was not just random incidents. But from my understanding, no one that I knew or had played with knew how to trigger it. They knew that it could randomly happen, and you could then leave the server and rejoin or do whatever. But no. And I mean, just to go off topic, and you can interrupt here, but I think if you look at the games that we played, yes, against Astralis we were leading when he used it, but you can also see in the Spirit game that we're losing quite badly. We're down 3-9 when he exits the bug, and we end up winning the game. Something, I don't know how much, but what you can see in that game, if you go to the HUNDEN video, which is on Michael's YouTube, and you watch like him turning his camera and looking at stuff, you will see a lot of situations where you're like, why is Heroic not punishing this guy? Like, it's not a lot of situations, but it's a few where some guy is timing us up middle and he kills a guy with an AK in the back against full eco. Like, why would you not? If your coach was actually cheating, he would say, "Hey, this guy is in this position. Don't lose an AK versus pistols. Just kill him." And there's also a round where I'm holding a push. We're playing Dust 2. I'm standing outside long. I'm holding a catwalk push. This is quite common. Pistols like to get boosted and maybe sneak up aggressively, and we are out long. I'm holding this, and as I let this go, stavn, who's coming from T-spawn, gets killed in the side by one guy. And I, as the IGL and as the captain, says, "Hey, let's go out and trade this guy, because obviously I don't want to be boxed in on long 4 guys and they'll just stack around, one guy covering the back." And what is this case? There's 4 fucking pistols around the corner in long. And I run out with a bump and die, and we lose the round versus pistols. And I mean, I don't know if it is to you guys, but to me, that proves that if we were involved in his cheating, obviously we wouldn't play fucking retarded and run out against pistols and die like that.
Maybe you did it on purpose so you could hide your tracks.
I get what you're saying there, cadiaN, but one of the things that like I think is very clear, no matter how many examples or if we had all of you on right now and we were all discussing it, unfortunately there is always going to be a sect of people who don't believe what you're saying, regardless of if you're telling the truth or not. And
we knew this because, I mean, if the conclusion from ESIC is not going to be enough, like in my opinion, nothing is ever going to convince them. And obviously it's, I don't know, there's in my understanding, there's too many people who still thinks that we were involved, in my opinion. I mean, I can understand that a part would be, but not.
I kind of want to give a reference point to you. There are people now who still believe that Flusher cheated. Now, whether he did or he didn't, I don't think we're ever going to have definitive proof either way, right? To prove that he didn't, I don't know where we would come up with the proof to prove that. To prove that he did, it probably doesn't exist anymore if it was. The same situation is going to be in your case as well, right? Like, have you guys, with releasing your video that you did yesterday, was that something you guys had planned to do the entire time? Were you always going to speak about it? Or is this a thing that you guys had decided as a group that you wanted to do? Was like, because that for me, you guys didn't have to say anything. The entire time you didn't say anything.
I mean,
so like, well, they didn't have to say anything. You don't have to say shit. The internet does not have to control the way that you live your life. You get to choose if you want to respond.
They are public personalities.
But they're not though. They could have kept playing.
But
you're saying
they will have. I mean, they would be asked anyway, and it's better to at least control the narrative. But like, it's better for them to come out and say 90% of the things that people are going to be interested in than for them to go to the major and then every fucking journalist ask them again, oh, did you know this? Did you know this? And then just be bombarded with the same shit. Now they can point to something, like you can find most of your answers there. And then if people have some additional questions, specific ones, then you can find that.
Sure.
I mean, I can explain how it came live. So firstly, when everything started, HUNDEN went out and said to ESIC that he acted on his own, and then he was unbanned, and he did a 15-minute long interview with TV2 where he said he acted on his own, and then obviously shit went down the drain. And I think when it first came out, we were like, okay, we really need to speak, because when you first get hit with that kind of accusation of something you didn't do, you feel really bad. You just want to tell everyone in the world, we didn't fucking do this. But obviously there's reasons for why we didn't do it, and that is that we couldn't guarantee that everyone didn't know. And that's the problem with going out and saying you're innocent, right? I could say I'm innocent. stavn could say he's innocent. TeSeS could say he's innocent. Borb could say he's innocent. And then what happens if the question gets asked to Niko, right? If he says he's innocent and he is later on convicted, well, our wording of being innocent is bullshit. Everyone will say, well, if he can cheat, you could have done that as well. You may be implicated in this. And if he says that he's involved, then, well, at that point, we didn't really know. And we still, I mean, to my understanding, it's still difficult to understand the Niko situation. I know it might not be for everyone, but from what I know, HUNDEN was in the bug, and this was communicated to Niko through the Steam chat. But from the, like I said, from the communication on TeamSpeak, Niko hasn't gained anything. Like, oh well, he's definitely trusted HUNDEN's instincts more naturally than we have, right? But again, I think like if the cheat were to be successful, in my opinion, maybe like that Heart Legion team, it looked like to me, again, I don't want to accuse those guys, but it was a lot of incidents and you could see them really pushing stuff. I think that's where the coach has been like actively taking more initiative. And I say this in the video as well, and I think my conclusion is also that I'm going to publish this video, but I have a video, like I say, with like camera recording behind me, like Stiko and Colsera has uploaded these POVs, where you can hear my communication.
You're going to release that at some point?
Yeah, that's definitely the plan.
Okay.
Because I don't know what you guys think, but when the captain is the one leading the team and he's definitely the one communicating the most, and there's no interference with talking with the coach and involving him, I think to me it's a clear sign of innocence. Why would my communication not involve anything with HUNDEN if I knew that he was cheating?
I mean, but we first have to see that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of references to a video existing, but we've never seen it, right? So we can't. We just have to take your word for it.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that. I mean, you're saying like the spirit match. I can definitely can understand, and you ended up losing the Astralis match. But then again, like the context being that he was in the bug until it was 8-1 in your favor, and then he wasn't in the bug, and you lost the next 15 out of 20 rounds or something like that, and lost the match, right? So that's definitely something that looks suspicious.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this was the first thing stavn said when me and stavn really realized that, okay, this bug had been used. He said, I'm so thankful that we lost this fucking game, because it would be so embarrassing to have won with using this. So, I mean, you're right, we did lose, and we did lose way more rounds when HUNDEN was not in the bug. But I still think it was good we lost that game, because I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't change shit, but at least we didn't win with him being in that fucking bug.
I think we all like agree, right? And that there was multiple mistakes made by multiple parties along this journey, right?
Yeah.
But we've gotten to this point now, and obviously I mentioned before that people are still gonna like have their opinion of you guys regardless. So,
I didn't even answer that fucking question, huh?
Well, you can get back to it if you want.
Yeah, just quick. Let me just do it really quick. Like,
sure.
So what happened is we believe that, like you said, Chad. Okay, there's no case. This is gonna settle. We'll also want to talk wisely about this, because there was uncertainty about what had happened. As said, because me and stavn knew that it had been used back then, and Niko knew from HUNDEN before the game started, and TeSeS and Borup didn't find out until it was announced. So when all of this happened and all of this broke down and HUNDEN went havoc, we figured that, okay, there was a lot of pressure from the community and a lot of people talking, and we really didn't want to be known for the rest of our careers as the guys who maybe were involved in this. And maybe it is going to hang with us for the rest of our careers, but we at least believed that when he had been talking so much, and apparently a lot of people were still believing this guy, even though he had been lying numerous of times. I mean, he lied so many times about this coach bug that I can pick any video he's talked to TV2 and say, this is complete bullshit. And then he goes out and says that the strat sharing was sparing. Well, my ass sparing. You don't spare with fucking the biggest competitor of your country who you are playing in the group with for the biggest event of the year, for the first LAN in 2 years. That's not sparing at all.
Let's talk about that, because I think the craziest thing of all of this is if HUNDEN just leaves and joins Astralis, as was rumored in the summer. Nothing happens. Like, all of this doesn't happen. But actually it starts with this strat sharing thing, and then this lawsuit, and then everything, and then we come out to this like whole mess of a situation where found out some new things though, which is nice. At the same time, no one wants this. Everyone's Moses at this moment. Like, CS is Moses at this moment. We're all fucking sick of this, but at the same time, it's kind of important to go over it. And you see that sentiment. Like, you even see like fucking the flying DJs like tweeting stuff. It's like, oh, let's just calm down, people. Let's just not have more dramas. This isn't good business, but we have to have it. Unfortunately, like, I don't want to have it. We'd all be super happy if none of this ever happened, but we can't go back in time. And as Chad said, just like keep HUNDEN and Mad Lions. So what the fuck happened with that situation? Because first, HUNDEN came out, said it was like anti-strat sharing with some teams. Then we kind of find out that it's the Dennis Van guy from Astralis Talent, right? That's the more or less confirmed rumor that we have. That was shared documents, but like, as allegedly he didn't open the document. So what the fuck is going on there?
Yeah,
nothing makes sense. Nothing from that makes sense to me.
So some things I might have a more difficult time to explain. I'll at least have to be a little careful because, as also said in the first video, there's still an ongoing case about this in Denmark. So some parts or names I might not be naming, and you guys might already know who it is, but yeah, whatever. So what happened is we're practicing for this tournament, and obviously it's the biggest tournament of the year. There's no internal issues in the team, not between the players, not between us and HUNDEN. And he had just coached his first tournament for us actively, which was IEM Summer, and it didn't go too well, but whatever. We had some COVID situations just before that, and things were not optimal. We're practicing, and things are going well in practice, and a practice day ends where everyone is happy, and he is saying, "Yeah, see you guys tomorrow for practice. Thank you for a good day." Then the next day happens, and we get a text in the morning saying that he's unable to show up for practice. He said himself in the TV2 interview that he called in sick, said that he was unable to work because he felt bad. Or he didn't say he felt bad, but we didn't know what it was about. He called in sick, and we didn't know what is this about. And this, obviously, we assumed that this was some personal things. So a lot of hearts were sent in the chat, and we hope you're okay, and let us know if you need anything from us. And then 1 week later, so we hear that there's disagreements with his contract. There's things in his contract that he doesn't like. Give some context also. This is a guy who's been on this contract for 13 months at this time. So, I mean, you've had 13 months to complain about things in your contract, and we had just signed 2 or 3 months earlier. We had signed for giving our current contracts to the new ownership, the Norwegians. So, I mean, that's also a pretty good shot at making changes to your contract if there's things you don't like. So this is where my alarm bells really started to ring. So he calls in sick for us, but the organization says there's disagreements with the contract. That's a bit shaky. Then after some talks, I mean, the organization has a dialogue with him, and there's lawyers involved. Then he calls, he writes a message and says that now I'm back, guys. I'm ready to practice you guys. Let's get ready for Cologne. Like, this is 2 weeks later. We haven't practiced with him for like 10 days or so. Then I text the ownership, the Norwegian ownership, and I text our mental coach and like, is he back? Did you guys figure out this stuff? And they're like, no, we didn't figure out this stuff. And obviously we can't have a guy working as a coach who is saying that the contract is not legal and all this kind of stuff. So we then figure out, okay, we have a coaching situation here which is not suitable. We might not attend Cologne with a coach, and there's also a lot of this is the first time where I guess we feel not the first, but this is the time where we feel, okay, we can't rely on him being our coach. He wants to go somewhere else. And obviously the Astralis rumor was not out here, but we had a feeling that Sonic was not gonna stay with this time. He might do that still. We don't know what his current situation is. But there was rumors about that, all the Astralis things with the players not re-signing and stuff like this. So we thought something was going on. Then we talk to the organization, and I tell them, okay, let's at least just. They said we can't guarantee you that he can come with you guys for Cologne, because if there's this talks with lawyers between us and him, this is not a good situation to play under. So we have a unanimous vote about if the players want to bring him, and everyone voted that they didn't want to, because they hadn't heard from this guy in 2 weeks, and they thought that he was feeling bad and stuff, but apparently it's because he wants out of the contract. Then we go to Cologne, and yeah, I obviously have my boy Striker in the press conference, and I have to sit there and sell that obviously we go for the full performance with the physiotherapist and mental coach, but obviously it's because there's things behind the scene which is not optimal with our coach. And at this point, we believe, okay, we are not going to have HUNDEN coaching us anymore. Like, I knew this going there. Because if you are in such a disagreement with the organization that you're not going to travel to the biggest organization or the biggest event in 2 years, you're not in it for the team. You're not here to help the team. I mean, whatever things you don't like in the contract, you've been there for 13 months. Why would you all of a sudden 2-3 weeks before the biggest tournament say stop. So then we go to Cologne, and obviously we get a false positive test on TeSeS because me and TeSeS had already tested positive 3 months before. We go to the event, we tell them, hey, we tested positive 2 months before, whatever. So in Denmark, you don't have to get tested because you are immune, and that could still show in the testing results. And then we go there, and obviously he gets a positive, and we have to all be quarantined for 4 extra days. And it's not nice to not leave the hotel room. You don't even have a lock or anything. The organization then calls for a meeting, and they then inform us that because prior to leaving for Cologne, 3 or 4 days, we want to update our strat book, and we lost our access. And we were like, why don't we have access to this? I mean, yeah, sure, HUNDEN is not going, but this is our strat book. Why do we not have access to this? Then access is given to our mental coach because he's traveling with us as a coach, and he's texting with HUNDEN, and he's like, can I have access? Can I have access to the strat book because I want to prepare because I'm going to be coaching the boys at this tournament? And he's getting access. And then on Google Drive, you can literally see history. So you can see that he has selected all of the players and removed individual files and such in a structured manner on the players. So he's removed all the access to the strat book, which was created as a team, as a unit, which is owned by the organization. It's the IP of the organization.
We can maybe talk about. Let's not make such hard claims, but you definitely should be able to access it at least. I feel like that's
what do you mean?
Just
that
about the IP
okay.
rights. I feel like that's maybe that's discussable. But
okay, from my side, it's his first team coaching. All the things that he's created is with me and the rest of the teammates. There's no way that you create stuff together under the heroic name who's paying you for these hours making this to not
Did he
have-
not, did he not come into the team with part of this though? Like, did it include some stuff that he was from previous teams?
We've created it from scratch.
Okay.
There's not any Medline strategies.
No, I'm just trying to get more context on what that was, right? Just because there's also one more thing that I wanted to clarify, and I guess you already did, because I guess until now, people weren't exactly sure about the timeline of things and when exactly the strat book was exactly shared and when those contractual issues started cropping up. Because you're talking about 2 weeks ahead of time that he stopped kind of working it with the team, but you only learned it like basically while you were in Cologne. So to me, that as far as timeline goes, it sounds like he had the contractual situation which kind of put him outside of the team, and then he shared it. Is that am I getting the right read on things?
One more time then? Sorry.
That he shared it after the issues with his contract cropped up and after he stopped working with the team.
I don't know exactly the date of when he shared the stuff, but obviously he removed our access prior to Cologne. I haven't seen what he has removed and what he has added and stuff. So I really don't know that, but obviously he wanted to go a different way. And I as the only one had a talk with him prior to leaving for Cologne, where I was like, so let's talk. Because obviously you guys also know, you probably experienced yourself, Jason, and maybe you, Chad, that coach and captains or coaches and IGLs have a close relationship. They work more in tandem. And so I was like, yo, so let's tell me what's up. And he told me that he didn't feel happy here and he didn't believe he would ever feel fully happy here, and he wanted to leave for another team. And I said, I don't understand why you want to do it, but I can respect your decision. Because we all tried this as well. Players coming and saying they don't want to be here anymore, they want to join a different team. And learning from experience, it doesn't help to be butthurt or anything. You'll just have to respect that decision. And so I did. So I was the only one who knew this at the time, that he wanted to leave for another team. But no, I mean, yeah, he knew, yes, before he deleted stuff, that he was not going with us to Cologne, yes, if that's what you're asking.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious because also, like, I mean, the fact that he could even deny access makes it sound like it was his drive to begin with.
I said, I mean, all of this was started back as a very small organization. Yes, he created the drive. The CEO didn't.
Fair enough.
So, but it was shared with those males with equal access, right?
But the problem I have with that is it's done maliciously, right? Because that's the issue I have with that one, right? Like, I know the timing of what we're talking about here and the way all these events unfolded, but that's clearly malicious. Like, I'm going to boil this down to something which seems, and I'm pretty sure I've spoken to the sentiment of this before, but if he was just willing to sit out his contract, right? Just go, hey, I don't want to coach anymore. Just I'll sit out the contract and then I'll go to Astralis, right? Then none of this would have ever happened, right? Unfortunately, the cheating stuff had already happened and that had already gone down. But the way that this boils down to me and is that it's like a bad relationship ending. I always seem to equate everything to relationships, but apparently that's all I have to go to now. It's like the relationship's ending. There's always, like, I was always the little bitch in the relationship, right? I didn't want to get broken up with, but I was the one who led the relationship to be broken up with. So HUNDEN, as the me in this situation, I can give you guys a look into how my relationships end. Over time, grew unhappy with the situation, so became more of a callous cunt, so that he would be able to get out of his contract / relationship and get fired. But unfortunately, that didn't go the way he'd planned. So then he has to have a tantrum and do something to actually ruin everything, which is leaking documents to your biggest competitor, and I actually think denying it to your team before they're about to go to an event like you're mentioning is a pretty big deal as well. Actually, maybe even a big. No, they're both equally as fucked. And then from there, this whole thing's kicked off. But it's still mad. Like, when I say this whole thing, then he's tried to bring everybody down with him. Right now, that's the bit where we're at now, is that this all only kicked off in this way because of this whole contractual disagreement with Heroic, and then the documents, and then now going back at each other, right? But it's ended up in the recent stuff, and why I think there's the lethargy over this, and obviously why everybody, you know, is like, how is this still in the news cycle? Is because it's just become he said, she said, right? Everything at this point is hearsay. It's what you guys are saying, what he's saying, and it's meeting somewhere in the middle, and we have to basically come up with whatever the best version of truth that we can grasp. That's why every second cunt in fucking chat right now is move on, right? You know, fuck these guys. Like, that's why there's some people like, yeah, let's listen, because everybody's made up their decision based off the limited information they have. I'm sure that there's not many people who have a full understanding of all of the things that have happened in this time, right? I would say that even the individuals in the team don't know every single detail that happened, as you've said here. So I don't even know where to take this. I don't even know what other questions that we need to be asking here.
I don't even know if there's anything left to ask, honestly.
No,
I feel like that kind of covers, like, this whole part about the pre-Cologne thing was kind of interesting to find out more about.
Yeah, I think from that message he sent 3 weeks prior to Cologne, the 4 other players haven't talked to him once.
It obviously seems odd, and it makes, like, I can understand why HUNDEN would want to go to Astralis. Like, I can understand that, but then the shit that happened after, that's like, he's a grown adult male. Like, he's a very similar age to me, right? Like, that in a business perspective, that's a really interesting decision to make. Like, when I say interesting, I mean it's a fucking dog shit decision to make. I don't mean interesting at all. But I'm just trying to think here. Like, I want to make sure we ask the questions, because I know what's going to happen. People are going to say, we didn't ask you half the questions, but all this shit's going to happen, right? So I just want to sit here for a second and tread water and just see if there's something, because, like, I can sit here and I can go, cadiaN, did you cheat? And you're going to go, Chad, I didn't cheat, and that's going to be it, right? Because like that, this is the thing that people don't understand.
I mean,
like,
he did say it like 5 times that he didn't know, like, so far. Like, I don't know if we need to ask that again.
Sometimes you got to be more direct, Prof. You know how these fucking pundits are. I don't know. I'm just as we mentioned, we've all mentioned multiple mistakes in multiple different parts of this, where but it all boils down to, at the end of the day, HUNDEN cheated. We all know that, right? It's the question that everybody's going to have is the one that we'll never definitively know the answer. The ruling is out from ESIC now. I don't expect anything else to change unless more information becomes available. The only stuff we're going to see more of, and I need to choose my words carefully here, because TV2 already don't like me, but we're going to see more of them. We're going to see more of them doing stuff for the HUNDEN, from the HUNDEN side, right? Because apparently that's what they're doing, right? They even had an article on their website where they had a Danish lawyer, right? I think it was a Danish lawyer of sports stuff go through and say that this would never happen in traditional sports, like the sanctions that were handed out and the punishments and stuff.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
it shows me where TV2's vested interest is.
To be honest, letting Niko, like, just skate by, even though he admitted that it's an interesting decision. Like, putting aside everything, it's very interesting considering his position as a professional player. That comes with some responsibilities that you're kind of expected to be able to deal with, and if you can't, then someone else should be there to help you with those things. And apparently OG are kind of trying to do that now, but kind of funny. But I also
I have something while you think, Jet.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I think is at least important to address. Like, a lot of people you talk about Twitch chat and Twitter, they're like, why would Heroic sue him for the strat sharing if he could then hurt their players? I think like a key thing there is also that they had been told the story by the players prior, and obviously if they didn't trust that, they wouldn't sue a guy who had such a chance of ruining their investment, right? I mean, if 4 players were banned or whatever, 3 players were banned, it would have been shit for them. So they didn't fear that because they knew the story. Second part is like a lot of people have talked, and like you said, like it's difficult to understand the entire thing, and sometimes I'm like, why the fuck are they tweeting this, or how can they say this? But then I also have to understand sometimes that, I mean, not a lot of people have actually, they don't have the information I have, and it's not just available. Like, it's not like you can read up on it and you'll understand. So I can understand why some assumptions were wrong or harsh or whatever, but I think, let's not lose track of what the key point was. So for example, a lot of people would be like, just publish the TeamSpeak. And maybe part of this was because of misunderstanding in the first Heroic statement, because I talked with you, Prof, I think, about this.
They wrote like recording or something of the match.
The recording they mean is my recording, right? So they've heard the stories and they've seen my recording and they find that trustworthy. But a lot of people were like, reveal the TeamSpeak. So there's 2 key parts as well about understanding why the players didn't know. Maybe 3. So first and foremost, the communication, right? If you have to cheat, you have to communicate this and direct the players in more or less the way you want to. You can do it more, you can do it less. But if it has to be effective, obviously you have to include them quite a bit. Then the reason why there is no TeamSpeak is because we were used to, like everyone else, to travel to LANs, set up on the stage, have an admin behind us. The coach don't even have a PC. He's going to stand behind us and he's going to guide us, right? But COVID happened, so the team haven't even met yet. We make changes. We're at HUNDEN, niko, and TeSeS, and none of us has met yet. This is 3 weeks into the team when this bug is used. Then, I mean, that's the reason why there is no TeamSpeak, because it was not a demand back then. It's not like we had an admin on TeamSpeak recording it or anything. The TOs were simply not prepared at this time to handle online top tier CS. Like nowadays, they'll actually enforce the stuff about not talking in technical timeouts, and they'll record the TeamSpeak, and then they'll demand POV demo uploads. And I'm not sure how much of it actually gives anything, but they're at least forcing a lot of things. The other thing is, as said, since the COVID happened and this is an ongoing pandemic, we're not sitting here at an office. Obviously, if I'm sitting here at an office and I'm fist bumping my coach and I'm looking at his screen and I'm like, oh, yo, mate, you're on banana, huh? You see some crazy stuff. I would be like, what's going on, right? But I can't see his screen because I'm playing from my apartment. He's playing from his. stavn is playing from his, and so forth. And I think that's something that quite a lot of people misunderstood, that we're not sitting in the same room. I can't see his screen. I don't know what information he has available to him.
Sure.
Did E6 see this video?
Mine?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
They know that it exists, though.
Why not?
Good question.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
well, that's up to them, right? That's up to
think,
E6.
I think also you guys will have to judge yourself when you see it, right? How worthful or how much is it worth with just my communication, right? But I think it was, to my understanding, it was a thorough investigation. Like a lot of questions were asked. Obviously, a lot of preparation came into this from our side as well, to just talk about if there's things you don't remember. This is also 1.5 years ago. If there's things you don't remember, how do you respond to this? And I mean, obviously not fun being investigated and to sit in a room with, or not in a room, it's virtual like this, right? But he was asking the difficult questions as well. I can guarantee you that much.
Okay.
Just as a clarification on something that I really wanted to know, because and also it's something that we talked to with, or just had like a thing on Twitter with people like Messiozo, Tommy, and stuff like that, who kind of agreed with me on that, which was basically why the players weren't punished, even though they clearly knew before the investigation started, why they aren't seen on the same level as niko, for example, who obviously, I guess, knew while the match was going on, and that's what the difference is. Eventually, but I actually reached out to Ian to get a clarification on this and why the players weren't punished, and I got an answer about 47 minutes ago. And I'm just going to read it out for a little bit more clarification. So the reason the players were not charged with a failure to report their suspicions / knowledge that HUNDEN had used the bug in the Astralis match is that the player code of conduct, unlike the anti-corruption code, places no positive obligation on participants to report any suspicious or knowledge of anybody cheating, so ESIG had no regulatory basis for charging the players. We are considering whether such an offense should or could be added to the code of conduct. So basically, the line that is in the anti-corruption code is something like, well, whatever, failure to report on knowledge of corrupt conduct or something. He actually listed here, but I don't want to read it out because it's obviously just kind of like
so essentially
language and stuff like that. But
for plebs means if you know of match fixing, you have to report it. Otherwise, you're going to be banned as well. But if you know of cheating, then you don't have to report it.
Basically,
that's kind of an oversight.
They should probably amend that.
But there is also that catch-all rule at the bottom, which they banned HUNDEN for like 2 years. So I'm not really sure that makes a lot of sense to me, honestly. I'm not saying cadiaN should be banned for like 2 years, but it feels that there should have been at least something like what they did with niko, saying like, oh, they should have done this, but we'll let them slide. At least that should have happened for people to get a feeling of, you should be doing this. And if you know something like this, it's very serious and you should report it. But
this is obviously like a very awkward situation we're putting cadiaN right now, talking about whether he should have been, sanctioned anything or not.
Should you have?
No, we're not.
Should you have gotten some sort of a punishment from
10 lashes or 20 lashes, cadiaN? Which would you pick?
And we'll let you go after this one.
No, that's not a fun question.
I don't know if you can. I don't think you can even ask that question. I would 100% say no.
Obviously, I don't think so. Like, you're asking me. Obviously, I don't think so. And I said it in the beginning as well. I can admit that we could have and we should have done things different. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. But yeah, I don't know what to say. You're asking stupid questions. Shut up.
Before you let you leave, Xizt joined as coach/analyst. Just give us like a brief comment on that, and then we let you go.
I mean, we have been looking obviously for a coach for quite some time.
Clearly.
Yeah, but not
why
really
are you looking for a coach? Because you maybe explain why you need to be a coach.
But not like actively. It's not like we just really need to get someone. I think there's kind of like trust issues as well from our side right now, that we don't just want to bring in someone who we don't know the morale of, or like we want to make sure we get someone who we can trust and who we can work with. And yeah, I mean, Richard,
you got to stand up guy.
He
couldn't be involved in the coaching box schedule.
We got him. I mean, it's still fairly new. I've been in talks with him since the Pro League group stage. But we have done a lot of preparation individually, and that's also taken a lot of energy, and at times maybe too much, because I mean, you can say a lot of things about HUNDEN, but he did know how to prepare the opponents very well. He it sounds so stupid because I know you can meme about it a lot, but he did. He watched a lot of demos. He put it into some good videos, and it helped us a lot with his preparation. And we try to obviously replicate that, and it's difficult to do so when you also have to play yourself, deathmatch, and prepare and stuff. So we're looking to get someone now who can help us with that preparation, but also Xizt is a guy who's been performing at many lands. He's won big trophies, majors, and such. And I mean, Trolls has been good at hyping us and keeping the boys at the right state of mind. But I think having someone with that experience behind us when things get tough in the big arenas, I think that's definitely going to be very valuable. And I have a lot of respect for him. I think it's going to be interesting as well because some people are still like, oh, he just had Get Rat and Forest in their prime and won a lot of trophies with that and stuff. And I don't know too much of his style yet, but I'm sure that he can learn me and the other guys some things.
Well, he's going to crush it in the map vetoes. Let me tell you that. It's going to fucking kill it.
Xizt did tell me, and one of these interviews that was like 2017, like NIP was kind of falling apart, or maybe even after he left NIP, that a lot of the map vetoes were actually done by like the coaches, but he got a lot of flack. So I'm just repeating what he said. Doesn't have to be true. I just found that interesting. All right. Is it going to be does he understand any Danish, or is it going to be like English communication with him?
He said he played with some guys, Danish guys, back in I think early 1.6 or not early, late, like cadiaN and stuff. He said he understands some. We will have to see. I think especially Counter-Strike language, Danish, Swedish, and Norwegian is not too far off each other. Maybe when things go really quick, but obviously he don't have to understand the really quick things as well as someone who's actively on the server. So I think we should be fine. I think it's a way better fit than someone who's international speaking and who don't understand any Danish, because he will still have a lot of keywords that he will understand that he can direct the communication at when we evaluate on things. So I'm super excited, and obviously, I think that it's been some long months with all this over our heads, and hopefully it's also going to give us some extra energy to not think about this and focus on this. And I mean, what we want to do is play great fucking Counter-Strike. We want chat and machine to call us the fakey boys. This is the stuff that we live for. I mean, playing good Counter-Strike, and we haven't done that too much at LAN, and yeah, hopefully we can learn how to do that soon.
Okay. Can you just clarify one more thing?
Here we go.
Yeah.
No. This is about the Xizt signing. I'm not going to hamper on all the previous stuff anymore. But the tweet says, we're certain he will help us elevate our team to new heights in 2021.
Oh, God.
Is that a mistake?
No, I don't think that's a meme. You're thinking like meme with elevating and
No,
height,
no. I thought it was going to be in 2022
You really do have trust issues. Holy shit. Just PTSD in live action.
No. The tweet says, Xizt, blah, blah, blah. We are certain he will help us elevate our team to new heights in 2021. This is the one. This is the 2021 is what I'm trying to ask about. Is he not? Is he just signed for the end of until the end of 2021?
I think both for his sake and for ours, we're trying to learn each other, because it's also with a very short basis. So I think the plan as of right now is that we're testing each other. And like you said, is there a language barrier? Do we have the same philosophy, the same style? But obviously we're working with him in regards to wanting to keep him and wanting to develop that relationship.
Okay. All right, boys.
Okay.
I think we're going to let cadiaN go now. All right. I thank you very much, Casper, for coming on and
thanks for coming on.
Giving us the first-hand recount. That's very, very kind of you. And obviously, good luck in the major, just starting in a couple of days' time. So yeah, thank you for joining us. We're going to let you go now. I'm going to continue our conversation. All right, Jason, I need to turn to you because you're always a man who I can look to when I need help.
Okay.
You know, if out of all the guys, right, if there was an emergency, you would, like an actual emergency, you'd probably be the first one I'd call. But
I appreciate that. It means a lot.
I won't ask too much of you here. Now, we've already been going for 2 hours and 24 minutes. Now, I didn't actually give you a time frame of how long this show was going to be. But you're a busy man. You have 2 dogs. You have a house you're renovating. How much longer of your time can you give us?
No, I'm good. I just got to piss again at some point.
No, that's fine.
I'll probably go do that in a second.
This is what I think we do.
I've just been sat here,
let's get a break.
drinking
let's
water.
Get like a couple of minutes break.
This is what I think.
I want to say, can I say one thing about the entire saga situation that we just had, the cadiaN situation? Because I appreciate him coming on. But part of the reason why I was just sat there zoned out for most of that is not any fault of cadiaN's, you know, but I think you nailed it, Chad. It's like, this is all he said, she said. Like, I don't give a fuck about the timeline at this point. I don't care. And the only
We got
thing
some
left
good
to
details though.
the only thing left to do in this situation, the only thing that's left to be done about the Heroic and HUNDEN situation is actually give out the punishments. And this is where I'm so confused. HUNDEN should be gone forever. He cheated. He lied multiple times. He's thrown his team. He's thrown his teammates under his bus. He should be gone. And even if he's not officially banned forever, like, I don't understand how any team would even touch him. He's got to be so toxic. niko should probably get the next steepest punishment because he had the bigger knowledge. And I understand there's extenuating circumstances. Apparently, Xizt is way more lenient than I would have been on those. I guess, let's just say hypothetically, I haven't given this any super big thought. That's like a year gone. And then you look at the players like cadiaN, who I like and who I believe and I trust that he didn't know there was cheating, but there was no actual effort to bring that up the line and get this out in the open. And there's already precedents. Do you remember back when Kaylee got caught cheating? He was on what, like LDLC? They were banned, or Titan was banned from playing in the next major simply because their teammate cheated? Like, I'm sorry, that's the punishment. Heroic and all the players don't play in this major. Gone. That's what should have been done a while ago, and we can move on from this. Instead, we're bothering with these details that don't matter, with this he said, she said, with details that are never actually going to get corroborated. You can't destroy the Heroic players because you can't ever prove beyond a reasonable doubt that these guys actually had knowledge that this was going on ahead of time and that they actually helped exploit it. So, like, what are we doing here? Why are we going over these details that don't matter, that have already been covered, that have been combed through by lawyers? Maybe there's something missed. Probably not, but let's get to the punishment and move on and put all this behind us. I don't want to talk about shit-ass HUNDEN anymore. It doesn't interest me in any way. He's a piece of shit. Let's be done.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think that the only critique that anybody can have with what you said right there is everybody's view on what the punishment should be is different.
That's always gonna be different. And I admit,
what do we do?
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah.
Like as a lot of people probably agree with 100% with what you said, but there's probably a lot of people who think maybe it needs to be more severe, maybe it needs to be less severe, right? Like, this is the problem. And the figure that we have, either by choice or it has happened to us, who is in charge of that, made a decision. So that's where now we're going to base it off what you're saying here, Jason. Do we just accept that and we all move on, or do we try and rally the troops and see if there's more? Now, that's the thing, and I don't think we're going to find the answer with the four of us here. I think like this, it's done now, right? I'm with you. It's done.
This should hopefully
be it.
Yeah.
But what happens normally with the ex-girlfriend, or in a lot of cases ex-boyfriend, in like 6 to 24 months, sometimes it can be a long one. There'll be something. There'll be like a tweet. There'll be like a message.
Robert will come out.
But here's what we're doing. We're going to take a quick break. Lucas is going to roll some ads. We're going to all quickly go to the bathroom, get some water, come back, and we're going to power on through. So be right back, everybody.
The Xtrfy M42 RGB, what a fun mouse with 5 colorways, lightweight frame at just 59 grams with a swappable backplate to suit your grip style, the sensor, the easy core, the smooth skates, and driverless control for RGB and DPI is why you should check out the M42 RGB down below.
These bombs go to the teammates.
I wanna see you rolling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Match, your esports teammate. Buy and sell your skins now. Easy, fast, and safe. The best skin site. Credit card deposits and withdrawals. Instant cash out methods. Get the best deals. Quick, simple, reliable. Bitskins.com.
Hello, everyone. As you can see, everyone is not here. We're waiting for everyone to come back. That was a long one. Oh, Striker's back. Hello, Striker.
Hello.
We're back.
We're actually live, huh?
We're actually live again. It's
That's
just you
funny.
and me.
Nice. What do you want to talk about, Lucas?
I don't know.
What do you think about this heroic situation? What's your verdict?
I don't think I should say anything, you know. Because I know.
Seriously? We talked here for about an hour and a half. You have nothing to say?
I mean, we can look forward to the skinionaire that's coming up.
What, sorry?
Yeah, here's what we're going to do.
We're actually live.
Oh, we're live?
We're live. Yeah. We're talking to everyone. Hello.
Fuck. Sorry, everybody. I should have left the door open while I took a piss.
Oh,
it was a long one.
Don't worry.
What? You just said I was talking to everybody.
Yeah, but it was muted. Don't worry.
Am I on now?
So are we live or not?
You're live. Everyone's live, but no, we couldn't hear anyone pissing. Don't worry.
But they can hear us now.
Yes,
Yeah.
they can hear you now.
Okay.
Here we go.
Well, okay. So when Jason gets back, we're going to do Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire. Now, Prof, can you give me? Is there a theme to the questions today? Are they major related questions? Maybe.
You guessed it right. It's
Okay.
major related questions.
No spoilers there. Now, for those of you,
Unpredictable.
while we wait for Jason to return, I assume we're doing it with Jason. Would make the most sense. We're going to be doing Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire. Now, 5 questions, 5 tiers of skins. Every question that Jason gets correct will push up the ante. If he goes all the way and gets all 5, it's a $50 skin available for one of you in chat. Now, to enter, what you need to do is type Bitskins. No exclamation point, just Bitskins. Now, Jason, you missed all the preamble, but right now we're about to do Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, the quiz.
Nice.
5
like that.
questions that you have to answer. And for every question you get right, the people at home could potentially walk home with a juicy little skin. Now, Lucas is going to link that one. Here we go.
Are the questions about skins?
The questions are about the major. Each week it changes. Sometimes it's about a player and their team. Sometimes it's about, what events going. This is a major. This one will be a major related quiz.
Moses is like kind of good at these quizzes. He
Okay.
did famously carry Anders to like.
To be fair, like, I don't know. Anders is kind of, Anders. So,
Okay. I see where he's going with that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire presented by Bitskins with Jason Moses O'Toole. Lucas, hit me with question number 1. I'll read it out. And then, Jason, you're going to click the responding answer on the link that has been provided. Lucas? Lucas? Here we
I'm
go.
in.
Here we
I'm
go. Question number 1. Who has played the most maps at major tournaments? Doesn't include Challenger stage. Is it A,
Okay.
Olaf Meister, B, Flamey, or C, Shonks?
Holy shite.
Oh, I think
These
that
questions
this
were a
one's
bit
easy.
harder, I
I
have
think
to
this
say.
one, but I think it's easy when you think
Think
about
I'm,
it.
you think I'm overthinking myself a little bit? All right, I'm going to go with my gut instinct.
Okay, your gut
gonna-
instinct
Fuck.
is.
Do I
Oh,
get like a
fuck.
phone a friend or anything? Is there any
Well, you
tricks
can
like
phone
that I
me
can
if you
use?
want.
Okay, no, I'm good. I think with this one, I'd like to just lock it in as probably the right answer.
A, Olaf
My-
Meister.
Okay, I should say it out loud. That's how this thing goes.
No, that's all
right.
right. I can do it. If
Okay.
you want, you can be the most
Alright.
interactive guest we've had. Luke,
Way to
reveal
go,
the
boys.
answer, please. And it is Olaf Meister. Now, the logic I went through with this is Olaf and Shocks have attended all of the 15,
Yeah.
soon to be 16 majors, but Olaf has
Olaf's
won
won
more,
more.
and Fnatic has gone further and more
And Shocks has also gone out quite early a lot of the time. I
because he's
think.
French. That makes sense.
Exactly.
Played with
logic
the
there,
cursed,
exactly.
cursed existence.
All right. Question number 2. Coming thick and fast here. Which organization has attended Star Ladder Berlin in 2019 and qualified for PGL Stockholm with a completely different lineup? Is it A, Heroic, B, ENCE, or C, Mouse?
Completely
I don't-
different, meaning like all 5 players
All 5 players?
are completely different.
Now, if you want to phone a friend, Jason, I'll
It'd be a
allow
pretty
it.
easy one, to be honest.
But this one is easier than the first one.
Well, that scares me. I don't like when you guys say those things, but I did answer B ENCE.
B, ENCE, and the
Yes.
answer is B, ENCE. That's 2 in
Nice.
a row.
He's nailed it. He's done
$2.50.
it.
All right, question 3. All right, everybody. Here it comes, the third question. Just 2 players have earned more than 1 major MVP. Who is the odd man out? Device, Cold Zero, Blusher.
Gotta be Flusha.
I was
Ooh.
doing my major history today, actually.
I haven't answered yet, so don't give it away.
No, I haven't given it away. I have a lovely spreadsheet sitting in front of me with all that information.
I'm trying to think if Cold Zero was
30
was
seconds.
Yeah, it was Cold Zero. He had to have been. He was fucking wild in 2016. I'm going Flusha.
Flusher.
Oh, I'm so scared. I'm so
C
scared.
locked in.
Yes!
Flusher is
He's done it.
correct. That's 3 from 3. We're in a bit of a hot streak here, ladies and gentlemen.
I like that. Because J-Dubs
750.
won it first. Olaf certainly won it at some point because he's nuts in
True.
2015.
All right. And
Great logic. Logic is
well,
there.
it went JW, Pasha, Freiburg, Happy, Olaf, Flusher, Kenny, Cold, Kirby, adreN, Tarek, Device, Magus, Device. There you go. That's the list for everybody playing at home. All right.
Nice.
So we're over halfway now, going into question number 4. Big one, this one. Out of 15 major finals played, how many featured at least 1 American player?
That N is.
Oh,
extra.
what an absolute rat way to phrase that question.
2, 4,
4.
or 8?
I did have to add like 15. just to be clear, there are a lot of them. But how many finals featured American players?
Okay, the first final was Liquid and Cologne, so that's one. That's what was the last major in 2016?
Cologne.
The last major in 2016 was Cologne.
You can ask for help.
Oh, that's when it switched to 2?
You got 14 seconds, Jason. I don't want to put pressure on you here, but
all right, Chad, give me some help. Is it 2?
I believe it's 2, Jason.
I thought so as well.
I would say that too.
Okay.
Locked in A.
I was just trying to think if one like snuck in past the goalie, you know?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
There's
not too many European teams going and picking up one American player.
Yeah.
There's just
I was
Cloud9
thinking that it
and
must
Liquid.
be a fucking curveball, man.
Oh,
but it
okay.
wasn't.
Well, we're at question 5. We've almost got them all. $15 skin is locked in. One of you lucky viewers at home typing Bitskins in the chat right now will be taking that home with you today. But 50
You're welcome.
schmackaroos is up as we head down the barrel of question number 5.
I got no help on this one. I'm out.
From the start of CSGO, majors mainly featured 16 or 24 participating teams. But which one featured 23? Was it A, ESL1 Cologne 2016? Was it B, E-League Boston Major? Or was it C, Starlight of Berlin?
Absolute rat question.
It is a rat question.
Absolute rat question.
man.
Oh man.
It's a fucked question, actually.
Why do I feel like I remember there was some team controversy around Berlin? I know E-League had it, but that was from season 1, right?
It was,
yeah,
but
that was with the teams, but that wasn't a major then.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
but was there something in Boston?
Well, yeah, that's the question.
9 seconds.
You mother. All right, I'm just gonna go with B, Boston, but it's probably Berlin.
Oh, he's locked in the correct answer.
He's done it.
That's $50, Jason. You've done it. You've
For the
come on
people.
in against
Give
all
it-
odds with hard questions.
Do you remember
Remember
which
the people. Yeah.
Do you remember which team didn't make it?
No,
Visa
I don't.
issues,
It
famously.
was probably. I was gonna say.
They
It's
got-
probably like a.
They got
Yeah.
stickers. That org got 2 sets of stickers.
Oh, is it a No.
100 Thieves with the Brazilians.
It was actually 100 Thieves.
Oh shit, that's right.
That's when
Must be
Liquid and
nice.
Zeus made like
Yeah, and those motherfuckers tried to say they didn't make enough money out of Counter-Strike. They got free stickers.
They never even played a major, and they got
They
2
got
stickers.
free stickers.
Wow. All right.
Little
Well,
cod weasels.
there we go. Well, that's going to be the.
Congrats, Moses.
All right, Lucas,
Thanks.
draw the winner. Draw the
Schützer,
winner.
Heinze.
I'm getting old. Yeah. All right. That's a really hard name to say. Triza Heinze, congratulations. You won the skin. You can thank Moses. Send him a nice tweet. Don't send him a mean tweet.
Nothing
You will
about
get
baldness
blocked.
there.
Well, I don't know if Jason blocks. I do a lot of blocking.
I do a lot of muting.
Oh, he's
Muting I feel is great.
an old school viewer. Well, I don't know, old school. I don't know how long we've been doing the show for, but from last year. So no, from 2019. That was 2 years
Nice.
ago now. Good shit. All right, that ends the Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire brought to you by Bitskins. Lucas, do we need to roll anything before we? No, we don't. We can keep going. Okay. All right.
Major talk. Let's go.
Yeah, like if we haven't spoken enough about Counter-Strike tonight, let's keep this one going. Seeding system issues. Prof, you wrote the run
Let
show
me
for
just-
this.
Let me just pull up the screenshot. I'll send it to everyone
Lucas?
here in chat.
Okay.
And Lucas can pick it up as well. This is
Show the people at home,
essentially
Lucas.
a seeding. I think we should just start by getting this out of the way.
Thank you to Liquipedia for this one.
Saying that is objectively very bad. And I don't know if anything can be changed, but maybe some adjustments for the following rounds of Swiss can be made, because essentially the way they seeded it is absolutely ridiculous. It's based on where you finished in your RMR and then comparing all of the RMRs together. So if you finished 5th in Europe, you're
The
worse
phase of
than
last.
you're worse than 3rd in NA, right?
What
And
the fuck?
that is just like a bad approach, because the reason why you have more slots in the EU is because it's a more competitive region. So finishing 5th can be better than finishing 2nd in another region. That just, it can't be compared. Like the whole premise of the RMRs is like they get the same amount of points, but it doesn't matter because we don't compare between RMR, between different regions. And they did this, which is very bad. And that's why FaZe is last. Fucking Spirit is number 1 ahead of Astralis. And then Pain is number 3, which Pain literally came to like 3-4 European tournaments and never did shit. So they can't be seated above Virtus Pro. Like Virtus Pro
Heroic.
number 12.
Oh,
Heroic is number 7.
Wait,
Pretty
wait.
wild.
This is. I think it's safe to say anybody with eyes can say this is bad.
Yep.
But because we're really good at complaining,
I mean, the easy solution is essentially, I'm not saying this is the best solution, but an okay solution is what is used at IEM Katowice, the major 2019, which is like the player seeding. We could use like any
Team
form.
themselves.
Yeah, where the team seeds themselves, right? And then you get like something that's kind of okay. Can be unfair.
Yeah.
Can be unfair to like the smaller regions sometimes.
High-loop Renegades is big teams to get fucked.
But they are probably one of the worst teams, right? When you look at Sharks at number 9, like they barely even qualified. Like they only qualified because the Bravos couldn't qualify even physically, like mathematically at the last event.
Yeah.
So you can see that whatever you try to pull off here is going to probably be better than this seeding. And the issue is that in this next rounds, the same seeding approach is going to be used to make pairs, from what I know. Yeah. So next round, when you have 8 winners 1-0 and 8 losers 0-1, you are going to get like, oh, I don't know how it's going to look, but you'll have weird things.
Riders.
Yeah, stuff like that, right? And that maybe shouldn't be the case. I just hope
the thing is, like, this is so out of whack. Like everything is so random that you might as well just call this random. Like it doesn't really matter. Like it does nothing. None of this makes sense at all.
Essentially, it'd be better if they don't use it. Just use like random draws for the next rounds. That would be better than using this.
Yeah, I agree. I think it may have been better to random it from the beginning. I know we don't like that, but like at least then it wouldn't have been skewed.
It would be better than this because this is like objectively bad. So random can't be worse.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well,
I mean this is I don't know. Things like this are like I don't think anyone needs to even argue if this. No one could even take a stance this is any good. But this is also what happens in Valve tournaments. I don't know what anyone expected to happen. I don't know what anyone expected to be different. Well, this like we have for the past 2 years where there has not been a major. We've had third-party TOs continuing and propping up this circuit. We've had HLTV with their ranking system. We've had seeding with all the different TOs. We've had a completely not healthy, but we've had a functioning to for the most part extent of
the
Counter-Strike scene that should be able to give you the indications of how to seed people. And the people putting on the tournament don't want to do anything. So I'd like.
Well, I mean, the question is how much of this is Valve, because from what I know, this is Valve's system. So I think that's I mean, it would make a lot of sense, right, if this was Valve, because it just is based on entirely on the system that they created with the RMRs, and it's determining how many spots goes to what team and stuff like that. And that's like, well, that's essentially the problem, right? Like we're literally running a system that is 2 years too old because we're basing this on how the spots were distributed in at the start of the major, which is 2 years old. So it's the results that literally have no bearing on what today's teams look like that. Just like 3 of those teams are even the same core or some shit like over the last 3 years.
I think just the basic premise doesn't work. Like the basic premise doesn't matter how you distribute the positions. The premise does not work in determining which teams are good, which are bad. Like you can't seed the best contender team from Brazil ahead of the second best contender team for Europe. That doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make sense. So, and we have previous situations at Major, as I said, IEM Katowice, where we used different seeding systems, which were fine. So this could be like Valve saying that you have to do it this way. But even if Valve comes and says you have to do it this way, I feel like when you put up this fucking how this looks and then just compare it to like even CSPPA ranking, you'd see how fucking different it is to the seeding that we have now. And if you do that with ESL, HLTV, CSPP ranking, and see it's like everything is super different to what you have here, it's easy to make an argument that this is bad, even to Valve. I feel like you could do that.
Sure. I think the solution you said about having the team see themselves is the only way out of this, because all the other solutions having to use somebody else's resource, which they're
It's
never
too late
going to
now.
do. Yeah, no, it is too late now.
Yeah, it's
but
too late now.
it's the same thing with the slot distribution. But regardless,
Yeah.
should we?
We just had to have a small complaint about
Sure.
this.
Okay.
Yeah, we can move on.
Do you want to say something about it, Jason?
Well, not about this, but I mean, I don't know if you guys had it in the schedule to get to it, but I mean, I think this is a very narrow view of what can be a better discussion about the problems, because at least I don't know how you guys feel about it, but in my mind, this entire, and maybe it's because it's been extended over the course of 2 years, but this entire RMR system was, in my mind, as a viewer of most of the RMRs,
very
was an
confusing.
absolute train wreck. Was it you, Striker, doing like the RMR qualification points? How long did you, if you didn't spend every waking hour doing the math on that stupid stuff, would any, like, you know, like how long does it take you? Like,
I mean, to be fair, like the actual
that seemed like a
RMR
full-time
qualification.
job.
Yeah, I mean, the armor qualification was a lot of actually Wikipedia were better than me at it, and even if I didn't do it, they would do it, and they would do just as good of a job as me at it, even better. So it's not like I don't want to take credit for that specifically. I did mostly the round robin stuff and just kind of like making checks with Wikipedia on that, because that's where they lacked sometimes. So we kind of like filled in for each other. But yeah, we spent a lot of fucking time on that.
I mean, I just know, as someone who didn't work a lot of I've worked only one RMR, so I tuned into most of them. And I think it's not they're not fun events to follow from a fan perspective, because you don't always know which matches are important. You don't always know which match is going to directly qualify the team you're rooting for. You don't always know which team you want to win or lose if you want your team to have a better chance of qualifying. And then just, I mean, even from a production standpoint, as someone who works in production, I know that like when you finally get the confirmation that you have the RMR, you barely have any time to actually work up any resources to actually build what could be a fun or interesting show, or resources that could help you, you know, display this kind of information on a broadcast. So I think pretty much on every single level, when I tuned in, it felt like the entire RMR into the major qualification cycle failed on most levels. I'll be honest.
I think it needs to be the problem and the balance is that it's meant to be a qualification, but I think as a TO you want to run it as a standalone event because you want to get something out of it too, right? But the key is, and Striker, you brought this up, and I think Prof as well, is that this was obviously never intended for the RMR system, right? It wasn't meant to be broken up like this
into regions, as well.
Yeah.
So if it was meant to be more of a global type tournament at scale,
maybe it would have been better.
Yeah, and I think still the points, regardless, for people at home would have been very difficult to understand, because depending on how like realistically between a major and the next one, we could probably only get 2 events in for a global scale anyway, right?
Yeah, I think that was the plan as well.
Yeah, so even like from where your team did at that major, then the next 2 RMR events to qualify for the next one, like people probably wouldn't realize how the points would work. They'd be rostered. So there was always going to be that type of confusion. I think something that is important, probably for the analyst desks, and this is why I have an issue when, you know, certain broadcasts are glorifying a group stage thing, like a GSL bracket, and calling, you know, a game where both teams have already qualified the grand final of the group. You know, I have a problem because it's setting bad expectations for the viewer on what we're watching. And our job should be to be like, well, yeah, this is just a qualifier, or like this is like a tune-up event coming out of a player break. Like setting those expectations is kind of on us. I understand what you're saying, Jason, in terms of being a nightmare to follow, for sure. Like that could definitely be trimmed on down, but I think we need to go in not expecting every event to be a fucking blockbuster event. We need to set those expectations from the people who talk about it within the news, the people who have shows like we do right here, just the general sentiment of Counter-Strike, because I think that is a bit of an issue. People think that like every event is a be all and end all, and it can't be that way. But if the events turn out to be more of an international scale, I'd be interested to see what they would tweet to go along. I think we've all, like, the point distribution would be completely different, because then it would be for everybody, but then how many slots for each team to get to the global? Like, there's a lot of questions, right? So we have to wait and see what next year brings. Let's just focus back in on the matchups available. Lucas, I sent you a link. I can't send it to everybody, so you can put it in the group chat for everybody. The link that I sent you is just the opening matchups of this challenger stage. So what we'll do is, you guys saw all the teams before. We'll talk through these matches, but I don't think we need to, like, we can quickly go through the openers and say who we think is going to win. That's fine. But at the end of the day, that doesn't determine who's going to get out of the group, right? You need to win 2 best of 1s and a best of 3 at a minimum to get you through. If you end up 0-2 in the best of one stage, then you're going to have to win out several best of threes in a row just to qualify.
Maybe this is where we can do like the first Tiermaker and then do a second for the second. I don't know how we should do this.
Let's because the thing is we can bring those other names in if we're on the fence on them. Right? Let's just go through with who we think are the clear favorites, who's in the middle, and who do we think is not going to qualify. So, I think if I just list off the names here, right? I think Astralis, FaZe, we're probably going to be looking at VP, Big, Heroic, and Mouse, right? That feels like I don't know. Mouse would be the shakiest out of all the names I've just listed there, right? Like the other 5 feel kind of okay, because then I think like you got Spirit in the mix, yeah.
I have quite a bit of confidence in Ants, perhaps more so than Mouse.
Interesting. Ants more so than Mouse, with recent results and especially on LAN, like I think a lot of people could probably see that one, right? That's why we have like I think we're gonna have it broken down in a couple of categories. Like we could start with teams who we don't think are going to qualify. Like I don't think Sharks are going to qualify. If I'm going to be honest, I don't think Pain are going to qualify.
Obviously, I don't think they're going to qualify.
Yeah, like Tyler or Renegades, I probably put them in the same boat in terms of like crazy, weird upset potential.
I'd actually have Renegades for kind of like a dark horse run. Honestly, like they've shown some hints that they can play against the better teams, and this is not even like the top of the like the cream of the crop. So I think
their first match is like Movistar Riders.
It's like Movistar, yeah, exactly. They have like a leg up.
Which is a game they can win, even though Movistar like surprised us all with their recent results. But they can win that, and then they can like get some worse team maybe in like the third game, and then who knows what happens.
Yeah,
like I see it more so than Pain, Sharks, and Tyloo.
Okay, honestly. So you'd put those as like the bottom 3: Pain, Sharks, and Tyloo.
Maybe Pain and Renegades are kind of similar level to me, but Sharks and Tyloo definitely out of the question.
What about Godsend though? Like we just had Taco on the other day. Like they're another team who obviously they're starting to show good form right now, but it's going to be a completely different kettle of fish for them, right? Like I don't know if they group into that middle pack or not, because their potential.
I think they do.
You think they do?
Yeah,
okay.
I think they could be like a 2-3 team who's probably barely not going to make it. I think there's reasonable. Wait, what is their first match again? Ents.
Godsend against Ents.
That's kind of rough.
Best of one. Very well. I think it's winnable. I think like Ents can be really good, and then they can have games where they trip on up. Like in a best of one, right? And that's the thing with literally any of these matches. Like I would go. The only match here that I would feel comfortable saying probably like I wouldn't see like a chance would be the Mouse Sharks game, and that's me putting way too much faith in Mouse. Like. I just think Sharks.
I mean, Heroic Tyloo is the most like one-sided one.
Yeah, definitely.
Heroic Tyloo?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Well, but that's the thing. It's like LAN, first of all, with Heroic, and then Tyloo coming in and do some crazy shit. Like,
I think like after a year and a half being in Asia, I really don't think they're going to have any chance.
Okay. All right. I don't know how we want to do this, because I think we may as well just boil this all down to the bigger conversation, and then we can just go through names that interest us, right? I don't know if that is a
I mean, let's just take the Tiermaker and talk about teams as we go.
Okay. So how are we doing this? Are you controlling it, Prof? Is Lucas controlling it?
Lucas is going to control it. He's going to pull up. I sent him the link earlier today, so just give him a minute to pull it up, and then we'll put teams and
where we think they are.
Yeah, and if we don't disagree or whatever, we can talk about it a bit.
I think it's important for us to be able to frame, first of all, like with this ranking of teams we're about to do, when we rank these teams, we're going to have to decide what our thing is based off. Because you can't just go, well, this is the teams going into the major. Like, these are the teams that, we think have championship potential. These are the teams who we think are going to, like, that are they going to make playoffs? So I think we need to kind of define those things as we go on in. But I suppose we can start.
How many do we have? How many tiers are there? Teams? 5?
What do you mean? Oh, tiers.
How many tiers? Oh, 5.
Okay, 5. You can, A, B, C, and D, right?
You can full screen the thing, and then you'll be able to see it.
We can. I guess we can. Put
this isn't it. What the fuck?
Is there a link or something?
There's another one which said like playoffs, blah blah, not the SABC.
It doesn't matter. We can change that. He can change it now. We can do like the first one is just kind of like championship team, like title contenders. I guess we can call it or whatever.
It has to be Na'Vi.
Title contenders, yeah. We can put. I mean, let's define these groups first. Then we can just like fill it in, right? Second of all would be
title
like playoff
contenders,
teams.
top 8.
Yeah, playoffs teams or top 8, whatever.
There's essentially one.
Then like dark horses, I guess is the second one.
Let me link another one. It's already
Prof's already done the work. We just need to get to the right link.
All right.
I had a question though, because I think while you guys figure that out, I want to throw this one to Jason because
this is for Lucas.
Here we go.
I think right, and I even wrote this one down so I didn't forget. I think we'll all agree that Na'Vi is the only team going into this event who most of us would feel comfortable predicting to take it, right? The rest you need to make a case for. But when I spin this, Jason, do you think it's Na'Vi's major to win in the perspective of they have everything they need to be that championship level squad? Or do you think it's Na'Vi's major to lose, being that everybody else isn't quite at their level right now and they shouldn't be losing to any other teams who aren't fully complete or where they need to be? Like, that's the framing. So is it Na'Vi's major to win or Na'Vi's major to lose?
I think it's Na'Vi's major to win. I think this is going to be a pretty weird and competitive major. I think there's a lot of teams that have made a lot of ground heading into this major, and I think it's probably Na'Vi's major to lose from like a fan storyline perspective. It's Na'Vi's major to win from like an actual Counter-Strike, like realistic Counter-Strike perspective. Because I think everyone in the world is coming in and saying Na'Vi's definitely going to win this one. They look far and away the best team, but I don't think they're actually
they're not miles ahead.
No,
they're not miles ahead. No, I think especially like if you look at a team like Vitality, who's been kind of like making strides. Gambit obviously has been kind of contesting them for a long time. Like, I guess you can't really put Astralis in that conversation. Not really, but I mean, I think there's teams who can take them down. So I think I definitely agree with what Moses has been saying.
Okay. Do we agree as a collective though that we would put them in the major winner category quite comfortably?
Navi's up there easily.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So I think that's where we start, right? And just because everybody watching, you have your favorite team and you want us to talk about your team equally. So we will talk about Na'Vi a little bit here. Just a couple of the factors that we need to keep in mind with this team going into this event. They just won the Intel Grand Slam. They've won the last two majors in the last, the last two LAN events in the last 2 years. So that's another positive for them. Out of everybody, they even have their young star of Bit, right, who has shown that he can do it on LAN now. That's another massive factor that they have going for them. Not only do they have Simple, they have Bit, and then we're not even talking about Electronic, and we're not talking about Perfect on the clutch. We're not talking about how much better Boomich has gotten as an in-game leader, and how the meta right now is quite good for aggressive in-game leaders, right? Those are all things that are positive for Na'Vi right now. And I didn't even mention the fact that they have Simple, who's in very, very good form, right? I tweeted about this the other day. They had, I think it was 4 weeks was the amount of time from the end of their CIS RMR to the first game that they're going to play in the Legends in the whatever the second round of the Swiss is called. They're going to have 4 weeks. 4 weeks for Blade and his staff to work out a game plan of what they're going to do for the team, who is boot camping at the moment, as far as I'm aware, in Germany. And they also bought themselves a buffer of time where they could have a mental break as soon as they finish the CIS RMR and have some downtime. To me, the way that it's framed in my mind is it is almost too perfect. Like, I'm worried that something might go wrong because they have all this time to prep, because they have all this lead in time, and because everything else is going their way. Now, I still have them that's why they're in the major winner position here. But all those things are super, like, that's why when I asked you the question, Jason, I'm asking if it's theirs to lose, because I can't remember a time when a team has been perched in the same way as what these guys are, with everything going their way, right? Going into the event to win. That's why. So I also think it's theirs to win. I think that it's being overweighted right now with how good they are. But it's a major event. Anything can happen, right? So that's just my little spiel on Na'Vi.
I think it's also important to note that Perfecto, Bit, and to a degree Boomich aren't really players. I mean, Boomich is kind of experienced on big stages, right? They don't have that level of experience. They have LAN experience, and they performed well like Bit and Clone, but it's not the same thing as being
arena experience.
Arena experience. So that's kind of a factor. But the thing is, like, most teams are in a similar or worse situation than them.
Yeah, everybody apart from FaZe has like players.
Yeah, FaZe,
like
maybe
Astralis
now, except Lucky, all of them are pretty experienced in that. So
Liquid
really depends on the matchups that they get, and at what point they get those matchups. Like, I feel like it would be better to face Gambit in the grand final than face Astralis in the grand final. What?
I feel like they'd have.
Oh,
a
feel
yeah,
like
that might be
time-
true.
I
That
feel
might
like
be
it would
true.
be easier to get over Astralis in a semi than in a grand final. That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't know. Like, I think if it was a quarterfinal, I think it would be harder to get over Astralis because it's like, oh my god, we're in the arena. But if you'd already had a quarter and then you were playing him in a semi, then I can see like I think there's
But
so
then
many
you're
ways you could
then you're
split it.
playing
That
for the
yeah.
for the major title. That's like even Simple had a couple of these like major finals, like the Face It Major one where he didn't really
Yes.
deliver against Astralis. And that was the point where like, I personally felt like it's gonna have that was gonna be the Simple Major. So
Yeah.
there is
Wait,
some
you at
pressure
the
there.
time you thought that Simple and Navi were going to beat Astralis in London?
I felt like it would happen, honestly.
Oh, you
I
crazy
didn't. I really
motherfucker.
didn't.
Wasn't Zeus on
Okay,
the team then?
Striker,
Yeah.
Striker wrote a whole article how Liquid was gonna win the major. So shut the
True.
fuck up.
That's true. Well, that was the whole storyline at the
Well,
time,
that-
right? That
yeah.
was just the Liquid and Astralis. There was like, can Liquid finally fucking do it when it most matters, right? Like that
Apparently
was
not.
the big storyline, and they didn't.
Well, okay, let's move into the next category here of top 3, right? Because this is where I think it really starts to be a conversation. So I think before Striker, you were mentioning Vitality and how
Yeah.
you think it's not as far from Navi as it seems. Would Vitality be one of the names you'd want to put in the top 3?
But like when I said it, I was just thinking about it at the time that I don't think you can make a reasonable enough case to make them to put them at the top 3 at this point. But at the same time, like I don't know who else I would put there at the moment. Like I would put Gambit there, sure. But like who's the other team who he'd put there confidently? Like nobody.
Vitality seems like the
Vitality
most
actually
obvious.
seems like the only reasonable choice outside of Gambit at this point. I
Now-
don't know
You
if
wouldn't
I'm
put
the only
Heroic
one
there?
there. What, sorry?
Heroic, I
You wouldn't
think,
put
have an
Heroic there?
online attack, Jason.
So do Gambit.
Yeah, but Heroics is much worse, I feel.
Heroic has a much bigger
wouldn't-
body of work than Vitality does.
I wouldn't say much worse. I'd
But
say
Gambit
like
made it to the
slightly
playoffs.
worse.
All of Vitality's good showings recently have been online. In fact, they failed Cologne. So if we're going to go by the distinction of online versus LAN to put in top 3, then let's
They
at
did
least
a
be
run at the
fair.
RMR. They did a run at the RMR. They placed, where are they right
Yeah,
here?
that was on LAN.
The RMR, I've got it right here somewhere. I was doing my notes.
Third.
There you go. They placed 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah.
For 200,
I guess
2,188 points.
I mean, I would remove Heroic from the top. Honestly, and I think
Lucky who
fan this option, though.
Oh, we're all
Rolling. Calls. Bah. Oh. Well, this would be the team pick, right? This is lagging right now. Be the only question. This is where it's coming from. Jason completely under here. I think it'd be whatever. We're getting fucking lost right now. Lost multiple people from the team pick right now.
Okay. Hello.
Hi, Striker.
Hello. That's fine, right?
We're back
Hello.
now.
Yeah,
We're back now. We just
Cool.
need to get Jason in.
Sure.
But this is Lucas's TeamSpeak getting DDoS basically. Are we back?
Yeah,
Are we
that's
back?
Looks fine.
All right. Someone message Jason.
Yeah, he's
Ah,
coming.
here it is.
He's here now.
All right, there we go.
All good.
Are we back?
Yeah,
that's like
Lucas's TeamSpeak's just
Nice.
getting DDoS. But anyway, apologies for that, guys. So we were just in this. So all right. Well, throw the names up there.
I mentioned an IP and everything just died.
Let's throw the names up there, right? Throw NIP up there. Throw Heroic up there. Throw Keep Vitality
Gambit.
there. Throw Gambit up
Gambit.
there.
That's it, right? Like nobody else reasonably.
Astralis?
Not reasonably.
I don't know
Like-
if I would put Astralis there.
Let's
Like, I
put
think
him
they
there.
can
Let's
make
put
Y'all
him there now.
motherfuckers is crazy.
All right. Whack them up, and we can work backwards. Yeah, put him in top 3. Let's work backwards, right?
Sure.
So if we want to knock pegs off here, right? Somebody has to make. Okay, Jason, you think Astralis? Make a case for Astralis.
I mean, they've got 4 of the winningest players of all time. They've showed incredible resilience going through all the different roster changes. They have some of the best organization and structure of any team that we know in the world. They have what many would consider to be the best in-game leader. Magus is nuts. They have the best clutch player. They have the most experience on the big stage. I don't know. Do you still need me to do a little bit
No,
more?
that's quite a lot. I think
Okay.
that is.
I think the
a lot
three of
the
us are
factors-
sold on this.
By best org, by the way, people in Twitch chat, I mean like the best team organization in the history of Counter-Strike. I
Don't
don't mean.
explain yourself to those.
I don't understand why the distinction even has to be made, but here we are.
Because they're looking for the negative in everything that's been perpetuated by American media to brainwash the entire world. But regardless, I think Astralis, if they can make it to that stage of the tournament, they become a completely different beast. The question is,
the playoffs for sure.
Okay, but Jason, they have a very long road ahead of them here. They have to get through a lot of teams. They have to win.
I'm starting at the first stage. Yeah.
4 best of 1s.
They have to beat
2 best of 3s as a minimum.
Okay.
All right.
Have to beat Copenhagen Flames and like.
I ain't worried about that one. That ain't my risky
FaZe.
pick of the group stage.
Yeah. Okay. Let's. Who are you saying, Striker? Who are you leaning towards?
I mean, I was saying Vitality, but I'm kind of on the fence between them and an IP, honestly. Like, especially after I am full, I feel like everything is pointing to device peaking at the right time, and that's like the biggest factor that I saw for them, like leading up through the last 6 months or so. That the device has been playing for this team. Like the entire time, he has been particularly consistent, and an IP have been kind of the same. Like literally all of their players are kind of up and down all the time. And I feel like now the device is peaking at the right time. They could actually make that work. But I don't know if. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily know if that will be enough to make them top 4, because they can still play games where 3 of them just don't appear properly, and like they just. Yeah, then you run out of steam.
Well, they obviously did some convincing, right, at the RMR.
Yeah.
We're leaving Astralis there, Lucas. NIP obviously did some convincing at the RMR. I think Device at the moment, obviously people are well aware of the rumors around his personal life and stuff, but assuming that isn't a distraction, which it didn't seem to be at the RMR, if that is not on his mind, or if that has meant that his mind is just Counter-Strike, that's a really good sign. And I think you have to think about what Jason was just saying about Astralis and think about what that means for Device. And I was in the van on the way back with them after they won, and Device was the guy, like, you know, it seemed like he was the one who was dealing with the atmosphere of the team. Yeah. So if he's able to bring that, and I do worry a little bit about Linus getting nervous. The same could be said for Plopsky and Hampus as well. That's not an environment they've been in before. So it is difficult to put them in the top 3, but that
Hampus
same
is
problem.
fucking fearless. I'm not worried about him.
Yeah, he does. He seems to have that attitude of not giving too many fucks, which is great. But when I make that argument, I would have to make that same argument for Gambit, who are in a very similar position, with only Hobbit being the experienced member, and then Vitality, which is, sure, they have Zywoo, but then you mainly only really Zywoo has experience. What am I saying?
You have Zywoo, Shox, and Apex. That's a lot of experience.
Yeah, you're right. So I don't know. Like, if I start making the inexperienced argument, then that would have to start panning out for a lot of teams here, right? So
doesn't this essentially just mean, like, I think we can all almost agree, like it says top 3, but that makes no sense. Let's just say top 4, because it's like the winner and the 3 teams that are going to make top 4 would be Vitality, NIP, Astralis. And we don't think that Heroic and Gambit are going to make it that deep. This is at least my opinion. Because of what they've shown so far on LAN, which are smaller LANs than this. Like, I don't see them even getting. They have to get to the playoffs and win one series in the arena to get to the semis. And I don't think I'm not sold on either of these teams to do that. Like Heroic, to a degree, like they're okay here on LAN, like at IM Fall, but it was. I mean, the results weren't that great.
They came 12th.
But you can see in some of those rounds, they're trying to play that style still, but it's still not there. They also have had a lot of shit going around the team, so maybe that's a bit better now. But I think they will not perform on the stage if they even get there. So that's my thinking. If you agree that we can remove Heroic and Gambit from the top 4, we can
put him into the playoffs category.
I would also get shit on by the crowd, by the way, which is something to take into consideration.
That's true. They need to really lean into being the heel. If they do make it that far, they should lean into being the heel. Jason, what were you going to say?
Yeah, just so the court has it on record, I would do Heroic and NIP in playoffs. I'd leave Gambit in top 3.
Okay. I think
nip down Heroic, Gambit up.
Yep.
Okay.
I think
that's
yeah.
Go on.
What do you say, SPUNJ?
I don't hate it. The thing is, the only qualms I have with that, Jason, is it's believed that we hate NIP on this show, so we were trying to like do a nice thing for him and just put him in the top 4, so that they didn't think that we hated him, because we don't hate them specifically.
I do.
Like the teams, the players are cool. I like the players a lot.
Nah, fuck
Okay.
them all.
All right.
Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm fine with Nip. I don't have a lot of it scares me watching them. The amount of times I've watched them like pick Ancient, trying to like establish dominance, and then just getting smacked around a little bit on it. You know,
they kind of did though. They're kind of like they kind of managed
stretches,
that finally. Yeah.
Okay, so with this, right?
Are we then? From what I understand,
look, I'm fine with this, honestly.
Okay, I'm not super against it either.
I think that it could very easily have Heroic and NIP in the top 4 but I think that making the playoffs would already be a good achievement for both of those teams.
I think out of all these teams, I'm least convinced about Heroic, so I'm fine with them having playoffs. And then like the other 4 are kind of a toss up for me. So
do we want to like finish up like no real chance, disappointment, or are we going just? We can go with Dark Horse, I guess.
Well,
we could probably put EG in one of those places real quick.
Well, yeah, could just whack
there's a couple
bottom,
teams
please.
you could.
Okay,
yeah,
let's just do that
on the bottom, like immediately.
Okay.
No, that's not even disappointment. That's no real chance. It's not a disappointment.
EG has no real chance.
Okay, no real chance.
EG has no real chance, that's for sure.
Sharks and Tyloo in the same category.
Yep. I think I would even put Pain in that category.
No real chance.
Godsent, Movie Star Writers.
In the no real chance one, Lucas. We'll put Disappointment in a second. Put Pain, Tyloo.
Tyloo, second row,
first one, yeah.
Then Godsent.
He needs help with the logos. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't realize. Yeah, Lucas needs help with the logos.
The big P.
The big P also no real chance.
Next to Movie
Movie
Star.
Movie
Star I would put there too.
Flames?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Flames. Flames. I don't know actually where to put.
I wouldn't put them Dark Horse. They're not Dark Horse to win. Dark Horse is going to have different layers of conversation, right? So, out of all these names, do we put G2 in Disappointment before the event happens, or is this where it's all going to come together and they're just going to peak?
That was going to be.
What is a disappointment for G2 at this point? Like that's
not
the
making
problem.
playoffs.
At this point, I think they can only surprise.
Playoffs.
I think it's a dark horse, honestly, just because of how shit they were doing. Like, it's not even going to be a disappointment if they go out in groups. Like, we just expect.
No,
it is.
It is. Let's not.
I need some clarification on the disappointment before I throw my hat in the ring. Is this teams that we believe are going to fail to the level of being a disappointment of wherever they think they should be at, or are these? Like, are we saying this team is possibly going to be a disappointment, or this team will be a disappointment? I guess is the best way to put it.
I guess.
Because I could put like 5 teams in there right now who have the potential to be a massive disappointment.
Okay.
I mean, we can't know.
But am I supposed to actually predict who I think will be a disappointment for that category?
Yeah. Well, I think that's the point, right?
Okay, put FaZe in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so just off the top of my head, if I went through this, I would say FaZe, VP, Liquid, Mouse, and G2. You could all put in disappointment because they all have the potential.
Like, then we run out names for hard dark.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you want me to pick like 1 or 2 of those who I think will be like Mouse Sports would be in there as disappointment. I think FaZe could stick in there as disappointment.
We have the old Mouse logo, by the way.
No, this is fine. I think this is like good because we can move these names around now that they're in, right? So I think that like this is where we get into the conversation of, do we think that there's more of a chance there'll be a disappointment or more of a chance there'll be a dark horse, right?
Yeah.
I think that, for example, like we still have 2 names we can put in the playoffs category as well.
That's true.
So we should probably be trying to fill that one out, and then for like dark horses, in terms of that's everything clicking. So that's why what Jason's saying I think is really important, because Jason, if we think that they could be massive disappointments, the flip side of that is that they could get to the playoffs, right? So just because of how things are going for G2, it does seem like the Niko carry show, right? Like he's doing his job and everybody else is kind of turning up every now and again. So I would lean in their direction that just with G2's track record, but where the team is meant to be, I would feel comfortable like putting them in the disappointment category. Like, as opposed to, like, I think that they could make playoffs. I think that they could even make top 4, but that would mean the G2 that we all know needs to click has to click, but it hasn't. So that's why, like, every time we think, like, that's why I'd put them in the disappointment category, just because they, where they should be as a team, it's unlikely that they're going to get there, but they can. Like, it's hard to quantify that. Whereas like Liquid as well, it's another one that I could see. Yeah, okay.
I'd have Liquid in my playoffs personally.
So that's what I was going to say. Like, I think the Liquid they would definitely fit into one of my dark horse teams, because I think if they catch fire and they get that momentum, like Naf Elige on form is fucking, like, that's a really strong pair of players just to have going on.
Naf's been on point all year as well. Naf's having a really good year.
Would anybody else put Liquid in their playoffs?
I would.
Thing is, I don't know who else I would put in there. So
I'm honestly thinking, like, I think Virtus Pro make the playoffs.
Okay.
And basing that on the fact that they're pretty good against
going to bore their
worst
teams.
To death. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, they will do that, and then if you're not super focused, you'll just lose. And there are a lot of teams here that aren't that great. That's just a fact. I know they start against Big, which is a worthy opponent, especially that early. But I think they make it through the first phase without too many issues. And then the second phase, I think they still make it through, just because even though they're not super great, they're fairly consistent in my eyes.
Okay, well,
in terms of who they beat, like, they don't beat.
I think we need another category on this tier list of just like some kind of fucking neutral category of like, this team is just going to be the team that we think they are. They're not going to do better. They're not going to do worse. And then you say there's going to be one disappointment team for the whole event.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, I like that. Yeah,
Okay.
because I also felt like there's like one category missing at this point.
Like, I have no expectations for mouse sports, so I don't really know how they can be a disappointment. I think they're going to be exactly what we think they're going to be.
I think we would put them in the no real chance, right? In terms of no real chance, like they could make the top 16, but they're probably not going to go for a deep run in the event, right?
I agree with that.
But
I don't think
they could make a run to the playoffs.
Well, they definitely could, but they're not in the conversation for me of winning the trophy. Whereas,
okay,
like,
if you want, that's fine. If you want to put them, that's good.
I think like,
if we lean to they could make the playoffs, then that's dark horse territory. But I think mouse sports are either they're a disappointment or no real chance. I think disappointment still. I still think they have some good pieces and they'll just not do much.
What would
they
be
won't make
a
playoffs.
good major for mouse sports?
Top 8. Top 8.
Yeah,
top 8 would be great.
They won the second RMR event of the year. They won the Flashpoint RMR, the first RMR of the year.
What's your question again?
I'm just trying to think of I mean, it's just what I said. I don't really have a whole lot of expectations for where I think Mouse is going to go. So I just struggle to call. It's just a matter of semantics. It's stupid.
Let's just like go around and everyone can move one piece and explain it. You move one piece, and then if the 3 other people don't agree, then the piece doesn't move.
Put Liquid to playoffs. That's my piece movement.
I'm okay with that for now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, I'm struggling putting more teams in there, so yeah.
Yeah, we still have to put more names in there, so that's all right.
So Striker, you're next.
I'm gonna say G2 Dark Horse still.
Okay.
Like, I think just because of how the expectations have been set now, right? Just because everybody expects them, they fucked up ever since they came back from the break, right? Everybody expects them to just bomb out. So I'm just saying that they're not as bad as people make them out to be. Like, they're potentially not as bad as people make it out to be. That's what I'm saying. And I think they could make a deep run if things click for them. So that's what I would put them in the Dark Horse.
SPUNJ.
I would put FaZe in Dark Horse. Like, as much as this team has had its ups and downs and only just qualified for the major, I still think that they have, like, Rain was playing really good Counter-Strike at the RMR. If Rain's playing good, Twist and Brokey keep playing good, and with Carrigan calling and it being back to the LAN environment and all that kind of stuff, if we're going to be talking about experience, that's one right there where FaZe could be a dark horse to go deep, right? I think Carrigan was talking about wanting to make it to like the semifinals or some shit. Like, if I'm going to lean on pedigree, I would surprisingly put FaZe in dark horse, even though their results maybe don't back it up.
Bold.
Very
bold.
Yeah. I'm not in for this. I'm honestly not. I'm not that not that hot for this. What do you say, Striker?
Yeah, I'm just looking through the other names. If there's somebody else I would put in there. I mean, the thing is, like, FaZe, you still can't really argue with the experience, right? Like, this is a major that we're talking about. So, like, these players, and especially with what we saw at Cologne, I think they can reach the level where they could reach the playoffs. But I wouldn't put them at the same level as G2 in that aspect. So I'm kind of on the fence about FaZe.
Well, we need one more team.
There is no consensus
playoffs.
on this.
Didn't you say you want a VP in playoffs?
I want VP in playoffs. Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm fine with that.
We can move them. They're in disappointment right now.
Okay.
So here's
yeah.
No, I mean we're never going to agree on all this, right?
No.
Yeah, of course.
But the whole point is how we get there, right? So our logic is
let's use the teams that we have on the bottom. Like now, the playoff teams are set, like top 8. Yeah,
nice try, Lucas.
And
you
now we can
probably put Big, Ents, Furia, and Spirit, I guess, and Dark Horse.
Yeah, like to make if those teams make a playoff run.
I wouldn't say Spirit though.
No,
Spirit's results have been fucking awful recently. Let me just
look back
note
as well, a couple because I'm just trying to.
Yeah, but their team just won TI, so they probably get like a power boost from that.
So the loss to K23.
I don't like that logic. Just
they lost
that
to
logic.
FTX.
We can put them at disappointment too. That's fine. I just again, it comes down. It's a matter of semantics again because I have no expectations for Spirit.
Another reason why Spirit is gonna disappointment in my eyes is because they choke all the fucking time. They actually cannot close out games, and that's
Spirit.
Yes, and they cannot beat any good teams. They can
beat
got a
one map pool.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, they played Dust 2.
And
everything else is like you're more than likely going to lose.
So yeah, that's also a thing. I'm pretty convinced they won't make a deep run here.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I would put them as a dark horse at all.
But does that mean that we just put the rest of them? We just put like Entropic, Renegades, and Copenhagen Flames in no real chance. Like as much as Copenhagen Flames has been exciting to watch, Renegades could get an upset win, and the same for Entropic. Like to win the whole thing.
Out of the set, Entropic by a striker, Czech organization, Entropic probably don't necessarily belong in this set of teams in terms of where they stand among everybody else. But then again, I don't know where I would put them else.
It'll be just like when you think about it, like how much better are they than the Movistar Riders?
I mean, they can really. Yeah, I mean, they can make it to the top 16, but really for the playoffs, you don't really.
Right? No, I wouldn't put them in the conversation for playoffs. I'm just saying, like among the teams that they're sitting at, with the no real chance they stand out, but not enough for me to say they should be. Like in any other category.
But this is the thing, right? So like if we just went through this, no real chance, e.g. because the team's in absolute shambles and probably not going to be the team after this event is over. Sharks, because their expectations coming from that region, they're not one of the better Brazilian teams. There's so many Brazilian teams in this event. Tyloo, same thing, region lock, Godsent. There's a chance for them to be threatening in a couple of matches, but we're not expecting this young roster to go far. Pain, similar thing as what I was just saying about, well, actually they're more in the same boat as Renegades. Movistar Riders, they're showing some good stuff, but now we're against the big boys, same as Entropic and Copenhagen Flames. Like you have different buckets for everybody right there.
Yeah.
Spirit and Mouse Sports were threatening teams at certain points. What we're saying with this here of disappointment is they're not going to live up to their potential, right? For whatever magnitude of reasons. And the Dark Horses are the G2s, the Phases. They're probably in a category of their own where like the potential of G2, we've already seen it. The potential of Phase, some of us still believe it. And then your Answers and your Furia, maybe they could all catch a hot streak and play some good Counter-Strike because they'll have unique ways compared to other teams of how they want to approach the game, and then maybe it works for them and they have a good event. Does that seem like a reasonable summary of how we got here?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. All right. Well, are we happy to leave this here, boys?
Yeah.
Jason, what are you thinking? What are you thinking?
Like,
I'm trying to. Well, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's any real argument to make. I liked Entropic a lot when I watched them when they qualified for the major, but I don't necessarily know.
Who did they lose to today?
If I'd move them.
They lost. Did they lose to someone today? They lost to Sinners today 2-0 in the DreamHack Open qualifier lower bracket 16-11, 16-12.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if there's any real place to put them outside of where they are, but just shout out to my boys.
Okay. Well, this is what I want to do because I feel we did this as a collective. So we're going to go around the room and everybody can have their little say before the major begins. So Prof, we'll start with you. Out of all these names, out of all these teams, like what is the main thing? Like who do you think is going to win? Like you can pick anybody. I know we've got Navi at the top here, but you can pick anybody. You can like say this is the team I think is going to go like top whatever. Make it to the final. You don't even have to say win, but you get one.
I know. I mean, Navi is the obvious choice.
Okay. All right.
That's it. Anything else to add? Like,
I don't know, dude. Like, do you think that there's any team here with an outsider's chance, like that we're
I think like
overlooking?
Vitality, Astralis. I think Astralis has a decent chance, honestly. Like, even though we didn't see this lineup play ever, I feel like maybe like one. I don't think this 5 actually played, but you know the history. So
we haven't.
I think it's possible, and it's because of these factors like LAN experience, crowd experience, major experience, and other teams actually not being that good, with the exception of Navi. Like Navi is pretty good, but anything can happen on a tournament. Navi doesn't even have to play Astralis for Astralis to fucking win in the end. Like the bracket can, who knows how it works out. So that's kind of my thinking. If Navi kind of shits the bed, it's Vitality Astralis that I see potentially taking the title.
Okay.
Striker? We should do like one bold prediction each.
Yeah, that's kind of what this is.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be bold. It's just what you think.
Right. Go with the baldness
I think that's important, right? Like it doesn't have to be anything outside of the box. Like if you just think this team's going to win or this team's going to go deep, like exactly what Prof did basically.
Yeah.
I think we all have the expectations that Navi's like its event to win, but the other shit's going to happen.
Like I don't want to get swayed by the fucking romantic story of an IP, man. I really don't. But
Why not?
For some reason I'm feeling it though.
Open up your heart. Let that love in.
Yeah, exactly. For some reason I'm feeling NIP to the final.
Oh Jesus Christ! Not that much. Slow down.
Well, no, but just as much as any of those other names, just as much as any of those other names, you could make an argument for it.
You
right?
can
like, you definitely could.
I think I'm kind of surprised we haven't really put more emphasis on Gambit, even though maybe their results haven't been amazing, like the last couple of months, and like Cologne hasn't been great.
They did win the qualifier, but
right.
Yeah, but that last game, like both teams were just there to have fun.
Yeah,
right? Like between Navi and Gambit, that wasn't one that is going to be remembered in their history.
But like
I feel like there is not that much to talk about Gambit.
Yeah, I mean the last couple of games they've been very competitive against Navi, so like that also tells you a lot about like the level of that team still being very high. So like I think there's still a very reasonable chance that they could go at least to the final, if not win it.
The thing with the Gambit conversation is, and it's the same with the Heroic conversation, I like the type of Counter-Strike that both of the teams play. Unfortunately, if I had to put money on it and take it to the bank with the way that they, like, I'm not saying they're onliners, but the thing is they haven't proven it to us on LAN, whereas the other names at least have names within the team that have, right? Or that have won majors or have played in majors. Like, so like the argument is once it gets proved, if they go to this LAN and they play fucking sick, that's great. There you go. It's the conversation is done.
SPUNJ every time says like, I'm not saying they're onliners, but
they're onliners.
Like, I'm not saying this is a car, but it has a like 4 wheels and an engine, and you can press the gas pedal and it drives, and it's from metal and has like a glass windshield and it has 4 seats.
Not a car.
But I'm not saying it's a car. I'm also not saying it's not a car. I'm just not saying it's a car.
But the reason I say that is because onliners would mean that they can't perform on LAN. I don't think they've had enough opportunities to perform at LAN yet, right? I think like I'll make a judgment after 5 events played. So far we've got 2.
Right? Look, I've said mine NIP to the final.
All right,
let
Jason.
Somebody else go.
I think Navi's the only team you could predict to win it, but I don't think they're actually going to win the major. That'll be one. We haven't really put any upsets in the playoffs. I think we'll see one of like Ents, or I think one of Ents or Big is going to be in the playoffs for somebody. And then I think when you go to biggest disappointments, I think the teams that are primed to be the most disappointing when all the dust is settled, Liquid, G2, and FaZe. Not saying they will be, just saying Liquid without adreN, FaZe with the issues that they've had with the up and down nature of their team at the moment, and G2 obviously with their kind of struggles going with crazy terrible group stages. That this would be like the fucking capstone of a really rough second half of the year. So those 3 teams for me are poised to be the biggest disappointments or have the potential to drop down to that. But yeah, overall I think this is good.
All right. A couple of, I like it. I just want to see a few things in the playoff bracket. I want to see Gambit versus Navi at a point. I want to see Heroic versus Astralis at a point. I want to see Astralis versus NIP at a point, and the grand final to blow the socks off the viewership. I want it to be Na'Vi versus Astralis, and I want it to go all 3 maps, and I want all of
For
that.
the viewership, you'd want Navi against Liquid, honestly.
Yeah, that would be good too. But the storylines, like I think that the Astralis winning the last 3 in a row, Na'Vi coming and slaying that beast, even though they're slightly crippled.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Would you frame it that way if that happens?
Which way?
Would you say Na'Vi ended Astralis' streak at 3?
No.
Like, it's technically true.
Yeah, but it's not by the hardcore standard, right? Like,
to be honest, if Astralis reaches the grand final, I think, like, at that point, you can almost say, like, they are pretty good, right? It's not like they're now beating some Astralis where fucking Snappy and Yugi are playing in, like, some bullshit lineup. It's a lineup that's 4 out of 5 players, and they played well enough to get to the grand final. So I don't want to force the narrative, but it's not super out of the question.
Look, I mean, the Astralis gave up the opportunity to not call them that with losing device. So I think that's a pretty normal way to frame it.
Yeah,
it's a pretty natural way to frame it. Like, okay, if Astralis don't defend their title, somebody took it away from them, right?
Sure. I think it's gonna. I think like the reason I bring up all those games is for people with the viewers at home aren't too familiar with the storylines. Obviously, Na'Vi Gambit, the 2 best teams in this year, right? Astralis versus Heroic. The reason I want to see that is because of the rivalry that those teams have, and obviously the drama as well.
Heroic Gambit on LAN? No.
No, that would be another good one to see on LAN. But we can't get both in the playoffs. I want to see Astralis versus NIP because of the device versus Astralis story. There's a lot of good matchups that we can hopefully get, and that's without. And I've even included 4 teams in that. So
I literally have an article about it. This is great, man. Like I've just begun my research and just been thinking about like what matchups I should pick. I've been thinking about like picking out 5 like really cool matchups. I mean, obviously Astralis, the Nippon and Na'Vi and Gambit are being like the 2 biggest probably.
Yeah,
but the rest of them are really good too.
Yeah. All right, boys. I think we'll leave this one here. We do have the fantasy draft, but Prof, are we going to skip that? I think we should skip that.
I think we're going into 4 hours, man.
Lucas, yes, you can say something.
So the only thing that I'm really looking forward here to the major is we have like a Danish battle. Between the 3 top Danish teams, kind of.
Is this where you want to talk about Copenhagen Flames?
Well, I mean, my personal opinion is that maybe Copenhagen Flames won't be at the bottom of those 3.
Okay.
Whoa.
Okay.
But
all
let's
right.
see.
Well,
Lucas he's got the boldest prediction of all of us.
Yeah, true.
Lucas out here fucking throwing some shade around the Danish Counter-Strike scene. All right. Let's jump into playtime. Roll the bumper, Lucas, and we're going to do the Paramatch Matchmaker, and then we'll fucking button this cunt up. We're back. Paramatch Matchmaker segment right now. Lucas is going to find it right here. And basically, just for those of you who are the uninitiated, this is a segment brought to you by Parimatch, match in the name. And this is the Matchmaker, where our guest, Jason, with us, I assume, we're going to collectively come up with some answers. And this is another major themed bit and bob. Now, I'm waiting for the link before I can read out to our audio listeners.
Send it to everyone, because everyone should be able to click.
Do the viewers win stuff when I get everything right?
No, nothing this time. Nothing. This is just like is like a conversation piece, and it's a lot of the conversation that we've probably already had. So, bada bing, bada boom. All right, we've linked that one in.
We can kind of change it if we want, but like I went for this not knowing that we'll have a dark horse here in the Tiermaker, even though I picked both things. So I'll just say I probably am responsible for this, but we can just shortly.
Well, we can just do that again.
We can just recap what we think. Who's going to be the dark horse? Who's going to make it out of these teams the deepest?
I'll just make it different because I didn't even really give one. I'm just going to give like an absolute one that I'm going to turn myself into the villain for everybody here.
Okay.
I'm going to imagine a story. I'm going to put Heroic as the dark horse to win the whole thing. You know, they come out of the ashes of being condemned by the public. ESIC, they've come on out. They've said they're not guilty. They're all good. The fans are booing and they're hating it, but they come out and they play some beautiful Counter-Strike, and in all the adversity, they lift that major trophy. Right there, you go. Does that one win?
That's fine. That's
Okay.
fine.
All right, cool, cool.
That's exactly what I was going. I need like a whole story,
A whole story, all right.
reenactment almost.
Yeah, there you go. So it starts in like an ENTS fashion where they lose their 2 opening games, and then the best of 3, they're down 1 map, and the score's 15-9 on Ancient, and then they bring it back and they don't lose a single map from there, and they tussle against all the big names. Navi in the quarters. It's against Astralis in the grand final, and like Glaive and cadiaN at breakfast, they got into like a scuffle or some shit. Like, just I want it to be mental. So that's the storyline I'm running with.
Yeah. I'll go for the Astralis one. I kind of explained it before, my kind of feelings with it. I think if they don't completely shit the bed, because we don't really know where they are, but my idea of how it goes is just like they start warming up, probably not a great start. Like they lose some, like they even lose to Copenhagen Flames, maybe the opening game, but then like they have an easy second opponent, they bounce back and like start warming up, go through 2 phases. By the playoffs, they're like super fit. Navi fucks up somewhere. They just beat all of these like onliner teams. Onliners. They're not onliners, as SPUNJ said. They beat like Heroic, Gambit, and they reach the grand final where they play like Virtus Pro again, and they destroy them in the grand final again, just like last year or 2 years ago in Berlin. I feel like that's a viable situation.
All right. Well, that's Prof's WWE storyline. Who's next on the list? Striker. I want you to give us your best WWE storyline from the list.
Right, WWE storyline.
Over the top. We need.
He did it in the last segment. He said NIP was going to make it to the finals.
I know, but
I don't know
give
if
any
I would call that
details.
dark horse because
He
I'm
didn't
still
bring
expecting to
Jonas
go
in.
far.
He wasn't talking about how the management were going to be involved, how they're out parading, about how they made the major happen in Stockholm. Like, he didn't bring in any of that information yet.
I said dark horse just because I didn't want to include Navi because that's super obvious. Because the original idea is let's like pick who's gonna win, but that would be boring.
Like my dark horse in the Tiermaker thing was G2, right? But then like, is this the same dark horse level, or are we talking about the
this is dark?
Give us
going to the final. This is right? Black horse.
Like black horse.
All right.
Night black.
Well, Jason's going to go with liquid,
horse.
right? So you have to stay away from liquid.
Yeah.
You could do G2 again, just dramatize it a little bit more. Like, say, like middle of the tournament, like niko strangleholds the in-game leadership reins off of Nexa and fires Malik on the spot, and Ocelot steps in as the like. Give us something here that's not going to happen.
The problem is, like, with G2, anything can happen, so I can't say that. Literally, like, anything you could possibly imagine is probably going to happen with G2. But it would be really funny if like niko decided mid-tournament, okay, fuck it, I'm in game leading again. I'm taking us through to the playoffs again. Fuck you, Kerrigan. This time Nexa, of course.
They have
that's
to
what's
play
happen.
phase in the grand final.
G2. If they've oh wow. Didn't they play?
No, it doesn't matter. It's for the juice and Aspen.
Yeah, I'm just saying. All right, fuck it. G2 dark horse.
Okay, nice. And Jason, you know what I'm going for here. Give it to me.
I actually.
He zoned out, everybody.
Oh no,
lost him.
He's changed his mind.
No, I haven't changed my mind. I've been really itching if I want to go for that route. If I want to take liquid here, no coach behind him, scrappy players, a lot of personal issues, things going on behind the scenes, everyone having a real tough time finding a way to bring this ragtag group together the way they did in the old days. And eventually it is jokasteve, comes out of nowhere, his goofy long hair, liquid tie-dye hoodie on, gives a rousing speech. But I was gonna pick ENTS as my dark horse. They're not even on the list. That's how much of a fucking dark horse they are.
Wow.
The music starts playing as we were talking about liquid, as we're going on about Stewie and Elige. Easy for ENTS. Easy for ENTS. The chants begin. ENTS slowly creeps into this graphic somewhere, I think from the bottom left, knocks liquid out of the entire column and plants itself there, ready to party. Finnish fans in the audience chugging beers just like in the good old days, chucking them up on stage. Everyone's soaked in Miller Lite, and ENTS is lifting the trophy.
Okay, I like it, Jason. That is a scenario that makes my dick hard, and that's a reference that I'm not sure too many people at home are going to be getting.
That's not bad. That's a good reference.
You know what the ironic thing about that is? It relates to liquid as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I like it. ENTS, easy for ENTS. Natu's there. He's crying. He's got his 17 children with him. They're all there. They can't
Cheering.
believe it.
They built a
Crowds go
sauna
wild.
in the middle of the
And
stadium.
earmuffs on so they don't blow out their drums.
Yeah, Doto, he gets knighted as like the Lord of Finland or some shit. I don't know. Saw he gets to become like the treasurer of the country.
The president. Of
Yeah,
the
it's all
country.
happening. It's all happening. But I like it. All right, boys, it's been an awfully long show. I don't think that even
We're
needs to be
breaking
said.
records every show these days, man. Like
Stating
we
the
always
obvious
go
here.
like
Yeah.
a little step too far. Yeah.
Well, we've come this far. Is there anything left that we should talk about here? Is there anything that anybody wants to say? Is there anything, because this will be the final show that we will do before the major, and we don't know if we're going to be able to do it during the major because of the travel in between. So this might be it until after the major. So let's use our time here wisely. Jason, you got anything for us?
Yeah, Finland doesn't actually exist. It's just a conspiracy theory to cover for fishing rights for Russia and Japan in the earliest part of the 20th century. The country itself is entirely made up so that no one would go investigate. Nobody would take that away from them.
Cast the
yeah, I think
the Anders, haven't you?
I think somebody somewhere has a lot of explaining to do.
Okay. All right. Jason hitting the hard geopolitical topics. Prof Strike, you got anything here that we need to cover off before we're done, or we just close this one down?
You got anything, Prof?
Give me a second. I'll take a deep
second?
breath.
You can have a second.
Take a deep breath.
You can have a second.
Fuck, I don't know. I think
Who's casting together at the major? That's what I'm gonna ask.
Me and Matt, Chad and Alex, Anders and Semler,
There we go.
DDK and Bardolph.
Okay, because that obviously you and Anders and Semler and Matt.
No, they're
were the-
tri-casting the whole time.
Constant trycast.
Tri-casting every game.
Have you casted together with Matt? You must have at some point, right?
It did the RMR.
Yeah,
Oh,
we've
yeah,
done a
yeah,
bunch.
right.
We did the RMR. We did a bunch back in the day as well.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah, I
yes?
just think big
Yes?
major.
Uh-huh.
I hope things go 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. Just a 6
That's
out of
all
10.
we
You just want a passing
all
grade.
we need is a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
That's
yeah.
it.
Avoiding any Corona dramas. Just
No
like some of these
dramas.
other events have had. Dramas are fine. Drama fuels the world, but just as long as we don't have any like COVID restrictions and teams can all make it, right? We just want everybody to be able to get there and be in good health to do so. It'd be great to get everybody back in an arena together, obviously safely. This is the first major in 2 years, guys. This is a really big deal, and maybe some of our viewers are new viewers, but this is the pinnacle. This is the top. This is the first time we've had a major with a prize pool of $2 million. There's a lot of the first major with Ancient, right? There's a lot of stuff going on here for this, and I think it's really important for everybody who loves Counter-Strike at any level for this to be. I agree with Prof. Just a moderate success. It doesn't have to be the best major of all time. There's so many teething issues with this. Let me tell you, as someone who's attended at least the most recent LAN, this isn't fucking easy. If we can all just give each other a bit of a fucking break, this isn't going to go off without a hitch. There'll definitely be a couple. So just be kind. Don't make your fucking threads calling it the worst major ever and stuff. If shit is a little bit delayed, that's to be expected. This is just unfortunately a lot of things that the newer viewers who maybe haven't had an opportunity to watch Counter, like things might seem well refined. And I think that unfortunately the level of expectation that we have as a community of where the game is at is leaps and bounds of where the game is actually at. We do a fucking fantastic job for what we have, for the limited support that we get. And this should be a celebration of Counter-Strike and how far it's come over all the years, not a funeral of people saying, oh, this fucking sucks and this fucking sucks and why is this delayed and this, that, and the other. So, yeah, we got 6 more days. The event's on very shortly. These players would not be any more excited to be back in an environment like this. And if what we can do is spread the love during this time instead of spreading the fucking negativity that seems to dominate the internet at the moment, I think we'll do everybody a service.
A lot of good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Inspiring words from an inspiring man.
Oh, thank you. All right, guys. This has been a very long show. Thank you to cadiaN for coming on. Thank you, Jason, for joining us. I saw you had the dog come in and out, but it's been a long one here. Thank you again.
You have to carry it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
she
big
knows
dog
how
now.
to walk up the stairs, doesn't know how to walk down the stairs quite yet, so it creates for a lot of fun throughout the day.
Yeah, no, I used to have a friend who had a dog with that same problem. But
Yeah.
all right. Guys, girls, everybody at home, thank you for tuning in. If we can be back during the major, we will be back during the major. This has been 3 hours and 45 minutes of us talking. Thank you for tuning in. HLTV Confirmed is done for tonight. Good night.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
These bombs go to the teammates.
I wanna see you rolling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parimatch, your esports teammate. Stuck ranking up? Lost the motivation to grind? Bored of clicking heads on aim maps? Get some color into your game. Bitskins.com. Buying and selling skins made easy. Tons of payment methods and instant cash outs. Just choose your dream skins, select your preferred payment method, and start grinding again. If you want to play like the pros, you gotta look like the pros.